to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, Cam. Could we have a sunshine announcement, please?
Yes, Chairman. Good evening, everyone. Today is Tuesday, September 24th, in the year 2024. This is a Jersey City Planning Board meeting with a scheduled 5:30 p.m. start time. And in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting has been given to the editor of the Jersey Journal, the Jersey City Reporter, and posted with the city clerk on September 20th of this year. This meeting was also posted on the Jersey City Division of City Planning webpage, and all distribution materials made available to the board were published and made available to the public.
All right, thank you, Cam. Could we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Vice Chair Dr. Gonzalez.
Here.
Commissioner Gungadin.
Here.
Councilwoman Prince Airy.
Here.
Commissioner Torres. Commissioner Lipsky.
Here.
Commissioner Dr. Desai.
Here.
Commissioner Green.
Here.
And Chairman Langston.
Here.
Okay, we have a full board. We have 8 commissioners present.
All right, thank you. Could we swear in the staff, please, Mike?
I see Cameron, Tanya, Matt, Junru, Maggie, Sophia. Anyone else, Mike? You guys swear any testimony you give tonight is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Cam, do we have correspondence?
Yes, we do, Chairman. We have one item that is adjourning under new business, and they will have to renotice when they wish to be heard. So that is item 9, case P2024-0042 for conditional use address 415 Monmouth Street. So again, they are adjourning to a date uncertain. They will have to renotice if they decide to get heard. And then also under
Cam,
new,
do we have any justification on that? Because we've carried this and adjourned this
Yes.
multiple times.
so they
happening?
their notice was flawed. That again. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, 2 other items wish to carry, and they request to carry with preservation of notice to October 22nd. Item 16 on the agenda, case P2024-0019. Address is 248 Erie Street and 209 to 215 15th Street. And that is for a preliminary and final major site plan with variances. They have requested to carry to October 22nd. And then item 20 on the agenda, the last item on the agenda, that's case P2024-0036 for a preliminary and final major site plan amendment with variances. Address 20 Carbon Place. They've requested to carry with preservation of notice to October 22nd. And that concludes correspondence.
Okay, thank you, Cam. Let's get into old business. We'll call item 7A as case P2024-0166 as a 190-day subdivision filing extension. Good evening, council.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Robert Vertibello from the law firm of Connell Foley on behalf of the applicant. This is a request to extend time to file the subdivision plat. This is with regards to the new ShopRite that's being constructed. The plat has been signed. We're not making any changes to the plat. As you may recall, there's a land swap that's involved that will allow Provo Street to extend to Gangemi Drive. We're still working out final details for the closing. On the subdivision, we expect that to
Counsel.
be done
I'm sorry to interrupt. Can we just have 1 second?
Council, I just need to recuse myself on this matter.
Sure.
I've been recused on the matter, so I just got to put that on the record.
Sure.
And I'll just step off to the side.
So, council, given that our council is recusing from this application, I'm comfortable moving forward, but at any time, if we feel like we need to consult with outside counsel, we reserve that right.
Understood.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
Yep, not a problem. So as I was saying, there's a land swap involved which will subdivide the Wells Fargo, the existing Wells Fargo, reconstitute that lot, allow Provo Street to extend to Gangemi Drive. we're working out the final details of the land swap. We expect to close probably in October, is what I'm being told. And so the plat was signed back in June, so we have 95 days under statute to record it. We're all set to record it, but our time is basically up, so we're looking for an extension. 190 days is the maximum extension. We're asking for that just for contingencies, but the sooner I can get this filed, the better. But we just
Understood.
need the extra time.
Okay, understood. Any questions, anybody?
No.
All right, thank you. Is there anybody here from the public that wants to comment on this application? Anybody from public?
Seeing no public, I move to close the public.
Second.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. Public is closed. Matt, do you have any issues?
No, staff supports. This is pretty routine, especially complex property transactions such as this often exceed that 95-day timeline. So,
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve case P 2024-0166 as presented to our board tonight.
Second.
Okay, motion is made and seconded for approval.
Commissioner Lipsky,
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Aye.
Commissioner Desai,
Aye.
Commissioner Green,
Aye.
Commissioner Gangadine, Commissioner Councilwoman Prince Airy, Commissioner Torres,
Aye.
and Chairman Langston.
Aye.
Motion carries 9-0.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, council. All right, let's move on to item B. Santo? We'll call case P2024-0157 is a 2-year extension for 100 Kellogg Street. Good evening, council.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Veronica Schmiel from Connell Foley on behalf of the applicant. As an initial matter, did appear that we noticed for this, and I have the original notice, if we could mark that into evidence.
Thank you, counsel.
Okay, so, yes, I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Bayfront Partners, 32 LP. Request again is for the 2-year extension for the approval under case number P22-057. Just by way of very brief overview, the underlying approval was for a mixed-use project with 210 units, 35 of which were going to be affordable, which comes out to 74 units. It was approved back in November 15 of 2022, so it's set to expire in about 2 months. The reason behind the 2-year request is that my understanding is that applicant anticipates some delay in perfecting the financing structure. I think there's some wrinkles to be ironed out with the JCRA, in large part due to the substantial affordable housing. So applicant is requesting the 2-year extension of those approvals.
So Chairman, first, let's mark the proof of publication and the notice as A1 for the record. I've had the opportunity to review it. It does appear to be in order. Chairman, as I've said multiple times with respect to extensions in excess of 1 year, I don't believe it to be appropriate in this situation, but I leave it to the discretion of the board.
I agree, council. Does anybody have any questions? Anybody from the board?
No.
Okay, council, we're going to recommend 1 year.
Of course, we understand.
Okay, thank you. All right, with that being said, is there anybody here from public that wants to comment? Anyone from public?
Seeing no public, I move to close the public.
Second.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. Public is closed. Sophia, anything you want to add?
Planning staff would ask that the applicant agree to the previous conditions that were approved under the original approval.
Applicant agrees.
And planning staff
Mr. Chair-
recommends approval of a 1-year extension.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve case P 2024-0157 as presented to the board tonight with a 1-year extension.
Second.
Okay, motion is made and seconded for approval.
Vice Chair Dr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner Gangadin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Prince Ari.
Aye.
Commissioner Torres.
Aye.
Commissioner Lipsky.
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. Desai.
Aye.
Commissioner Green.
Aye.
And Chairman Langston.
Aye.
All in favor, motion carries.
All right, thank you. Thank you, council. All right, let's move on to item C, is case P2024-0148, is a 1-year site plan extension for 212 Culver Avenue. Good evening, council.
Hi, good evening, Chairman. Good evening, Commissioners. Gerard Pizzillo from Genova Burns on behalf of the applicant LK Culver LLC. This is a request for a one-year site plan extension for Planning Board approval P21-120. The property is located in Mid-Rise Zone B of the Culver Route 440 redevelopment area, governed by the provisions of that plan. The board, in May of 2022, granted preliminary and final major site plan for an 8-story, 365-unit mixed-use building containing 1,500 square feet of retail and 184 parking space garage. Basis for the approval, the applicant at that time was the contract purchaser. That deal never happened. My client ended up acquiring title in January of 2024. Obviously, essentially about 2.5 years into the, the 3-year almost the entirety of the approval. So we're asking for the 1 year just to get their final pieces in place so that they can move forward with the development. There are underlying conditions that were part of the approval that my client understands would be applicable here. They agree to be bound by them and agree to the same.
Okay, thank you, Counsel.
So Chairman, first, council had previously provided me the originals of the notice of publication on this matter. I had the opportunity to review them, so we're going to mark the proof of publication notice of mailing as A1 for purposes of the record. With respect to this particular property, Council, Culver Avenue's in pretty rough shape in front of this site, or no?
There is some street concerns, and I think the bigger issue is Pollock on the rear of the side of the rear of the site. And I understand that, yes, there's a lot of holy conditions back there. One of the engineering comments on the underlying approval was to mill and pave the entirety of Pollock Street, which my clients obviously are obligated to do because of the engineering comments that always attach to and are part of any site plan approval. Obviously, that's a permanent condition. The building is not built yet. We're asking for the extension today so that they can move forward and build it. So to alleviate the condition on a temporary basis, I've had discussions with my client, and they will fill that area or those areas of concern on Pollock. I'm not a contractor, but, with whatever that pothole stuff is, and I mean, that's no term of art, but, that blacktop, I guess, blacktop. But I don't know if that's what's used, but, so I could put that on the record, because I know it was a concern, and it is a concern with, some of the neighborhood, or some people in the neighborhood.
Yeah, obviously, we were hoping that the project was already underway and we'd be moving towards that. So given the delay for whatever the reason, any relief that we can get for everybody, I think would be much appreciated. And also, there may be some activities happening on the site. I don't know if you're aware of this, but there may be some activities that haven't been approved by anybody that hopefully will be alleviated immediately.
Yes, there were issues with that, and I've been assured that by the end of the week, all of that will be eliminated. There was there's other city agencies that are, monitoring this, with the assistance of municipal court. So, obviously they're under that agreement, as well as, the obligations that this board would set, with regards to the underlying approval and the proposed extension that we're here on tonight.
Chairman, with that, I think that based on council's representations, and obviously we can put the milling and paving, or at least the pothole filling on a temporary basis as a condition of the extension. I have no issue with that being a condition of the extension, so.
Okay.
I leave that to the discretion of the board.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would request that that is a condition of the extension. As you know, this has been, since the project has been delayed, that stretch of Pollock Street is worse and worse. We've received numerous phone calls. The city is not able to do its own repair, and the craters are very bad. I've been there and I've seen them myself. And my concern is actually as we go into another winter season that it might become a hazard. So, and considering the other piece of it, which we've also discussed, happy that there's a project that's going to move forward. They need to show that they're going to be good neighbors. That's what I say all the time. So I would just ask that this in particular, whether it's micro milling or some sort of backfill, just to make it level. So the people that are also living in the building adjacent to it do not continue to have the issue that they're having because this project's been delayed. So.
I understand, and
Yeah.
no issues, no issues.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, council, so we're going to put that as a condition of approval, that Pollock Street will be leveled.
I would say a portion of Pollock Street. I don't,
So would the request would be from Mallory to the dead end, because that's where the problem is.
right, but within a center line back, because it's not all of my clients, as I understand it. It's partially the city's street, and a portion of it sits within our property line, or my client's property line. So it's not, I understand the condition, and they know what's out there, and they said they will repair it. That's what I can tell you. I don't know where in line, I don't know if we can get onto the city street and start doing stuff without any sort of city okay.
Well, I
And I
do
just,
understand that.
I just don't want to say from the corner to the dead end without knowing where all that is, and without having, of course, engineers or the benefit of the actual survey to show the lines. But the condition is well received and will be complied with, but I would just say within my client's property, because I think that's fair. Because we shouldn't, right, because that's the only area we have control of to actually do the repairs. But the condition on the approval is for the entirety of the street, and that's not going to go away. And that would obviously be the permanent fix once they start building.
No, and I understand paving a road to rip up a road is not the best answer also, but I just want to make sure that this is finally addressed once and for all, because it is a very big pain point. And the craters, like I said, they're not small. They're not small.
No, fair, and I understand that, Councilwoman.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So we're saying it's just under the property owner's control.
That's fair.
Okay,
That's fair.
okay.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions from the board? Okay, is there anybody here from the public that wants to comment on this extension?
Mr. Chair, seeing no public, I move to close.
Second.
Okay, motion is made and seconded, public is closed. Cam, anything you want to add?
Planning staff would just add that they agreed to the existing conditions and then the said condition we added tonight, and planning staff recommends approval.
Agreed, just on the record, agreed.
Okay,
All
thank
those
you, Counsel.
conditions.
All
Mr.
right, thank
Chair,
you,
I'd like
Cam.
to make a motion to approve case P 2024-0148 as presented to the board tonight with the condition of the extension of under the property owner's control.
Second.
Okay, motion is made and seconded for approval.
Vice Chair Dr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner Gangadin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Prince Airy. Commissioner Torres.
Aye.
Commissioner Lipsky.
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. Desai.
Aye.
Commissioner Green.
Aye.
And Chairman Langston.
Aye.
Motion carries all in favor with conditions.
All right,
Thank you,
thank you,
Commissioners.
thank you, Counsel.
Thank you.
All right, we'll call case P 2024-0142 as a one-year site plan extension for 50 Day Street. Mr. McCann, 50 Day? That's okay.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
James McCann, law firm of Connell Foley, on behalf of the applicant Manna Contemporary. This is an application for an extension of an existing site plan approval through September 5th of 2025.
So, Mr. McCann, we do have to just hash out a couple of issues. As I understand it, there's some open violations with respect to that address. So my recollection has to do with the various entities, and of course, the internet never disappoints in this room, Mr. McCann.
So, when we were here
Can I get paper?
for the initial site plan approval, the issue came up because the project does have publicly accessible open space. There's a patio in front of the main entrance of the building. And I believe there's a barbecue or a series of barbecues and some picnic benches, and there's also a dog run there. And that project was originally approved about 20 years ago. This is the Canco Lofts building at 50 Day Street. And the original developer owned and controlled the entire building at that time. But it was also known at the time that the site plan approval was granted that the building was going to be a master condominium with sub-condominiums within it, because those of you who know that complex know that there's 5 towers that have been renovated there. The actual case that we're here on tonight is the remaining unrenovated tower. So when that approval was put in place, there was an open space requirement, and there's no dispute about that. But what happened over the past 20 years is the building was sold and converted to condos as always planned. And so now, at this point in time, Manna, my client, only owns Tower 1. The open space area is controlled by the Master Condominium Association that controls Towers 2 through 7. And when I was here for the original site plan approval, the same issue came up. And counsel, you and I had a discussion. My client doesn't have control over that open space. And we did reach out to the ward councilman at the time, Rich Poggiano, and his assistant. And we did put them in communication with the Master Condo Association, who is represented by a lady named Cindy Vogelman. And I can give that name to the planning staff if that's helpful, but I can't remedy for you or make any commitments to any of you about the open space because my client doesn't have the legal authority to make changes to that area. And I'm not sure what the violations are. The last time we were here, there was a question. I think the planning staff would like there to be an open, public open space sign.
That's not what the issue is.
I know that there are complaints from time to time that some of the people in the building discourage people who don't live in the building from using the open space. That concern has been relayed to me from time to time also, so I'm aware of that.
Counsel, is your client not a member of the Master Association?
One
member out of 5?
No, it's probably more than one, but he does not, my understanding is he does not control the Master Association.
Understood.
Because we've brought.
But has a voice.
This issue's been brought to the Master Association. I think it could be solved if the staff would contact the Master Association attorney, whose name I just gave you. I think it can.
So, without going too far down the rabbit hole, the solution is incredibly easy, in my opinion, which is just to comply with what you're supposed to comply with, and not you, but whoever controls it. Your client, as a member, has some ability to at least provide you with information as well as whoever else as to what this issue is and why it's not being complied with. But I understand, obviously, that your client is only one of a whole and doesn't have the majority vote on that association. So, Chairman, that's the reality of what we have before us, but it's problematic, to say the least, and is disheartening at best.
So, counsel, just refresh my memory. It's not as good as it used to be.
Yes, it is.
This, thank you. This is public open space. This is not condo building open space, correct?
So, I hate to say stuff like this, but I was the one that handled the original site plan approval.
I remember.
20 or more years ago.
Oh, I don't remember that
I don't
one.
know, you might have been in
I
high
wasn't
school.
on the board yet.
I remember it.
But I will tell you.
I was on the council and on the
at the-
board.
Yes, Commissioner Lipsky, you were on the council for the tax
And on the
abatement
planning board.
component of this. You know this project well.
And I know the issue that still exists.
And so yes, as the approvals attorney from back then, the area in question is supposed to be publicly accessible open space.
Okay.
I don't see how anybody can dispute that. It's in the resolution from many, many years ago that the staff has.
Okay, understood.
And I would
If you
love.
want, I'll speak to it briefly because it was then, as is today, somewhat of an issue. I mean, it's not publicly open, say, come, let your dogs walk in his dog walk, or come and use these benches or barbecue. In fact, many of the residents themselves are directed over across the street to Canco Park to use it as a dog run.
My
Of course,
client
I've
did
been-
build an enormous park right across the street from the project and dedicate it to the city. I know that's not the issue, but there's
Yeah.
open space up there.
No, and that's a huge improvement, and it's greatly appreciated. It's just that many of the time, if you go walking and it smells like urine or poop. So, because they're not using the washable dog run across the street. But so long story short is, look, does it impact the request for an extension? I don't know how many more people over there are conflated between the two. I go over there for different events. It seems, livable, usable, but that's the issue, that some people still complain. And one of their tenant groups have looked to get a dog run off-site over on Newark Avenue by some of that New Jersey Transit and Conrail property. So other solutions are being sought. I don't know it's that pressing today.
But the dog run itself is also part of the public space?
It is.
Yes.
Okay, well, I guess,
Roof.
I guess somebody's going to the dog park out of our neighborhood tomorrow.
So, Chairman, the issue is it's being restricted.
Sure.
So, again, not to say that that is Mr. McCann's client's issue. I believe there are pending violations, and obviously, if it's being restricted, those violations should be pursued and continued, and as aggressively as possible, as often as possible. Apparently, this has been going on 20 years at this point.
I can certainly, and I will contact Ms. Vogelman and let her know that the entire board was very concerned about this and that my client almost didn't get their extension. I mean, I hope we do, but
Don't speak too
be
soon.
careful. But I'm happy to cooperate to the extent that I can, and I'm sure my client will also.
So, Chairman, something Mr. McCann is not going to like coming out of my mouth is the board could always hold this in abeyance until such time as maybe he has that conversation, but I would leave that up to the board. And I don't think the board's job is to punish.
No, we have that policy here. I'll be good cop on this one, all right? So I have no problem moving on with the extension, but I think there's definitely some work to do here. Anybody else, any other questions?
I feel the same way, Chairman.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's a whole bunch going over there with the art world. There are other possibilities being explored. It's a matter of access, but it's not something that is, there's no gate up. There's no, like, you don't need eye recognition or, anything like that. You could still access it. It's just not. So I trust Mr. McCann would bring this back and would work on it as he does. And let's see what happens in a year.
Yeah, just to say, there's no lock, there's no fence.
No.
I think it's peer pressure.
Yeah.
Is what happens, to be honest with you.
Counsel,
what I hear.
you only have a name, or do you have contact info for Ms. Vogelman?
I have contact info. I've spoken to her
Okay.
about this very issue, like the first time I was here.
Is there any way you can forward that to me tomorrow,
Of course,
just in case?
I can forward it to you and whoever's handling this.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. So, if there's nothing else, we'll move on. Okay. Is there anybody here from the public that wants to comment on this one-year extension?
Mr. Chair, seeing no public, I move to close the public.
Second.
Okay. Motion is made and seconded. Public is closed. Jenru? Tanya?
It's me.
Okay.
So, Mr. McCann is correct. I did reach out to him in August because for the last year, I have been getting complaints from the neighbor who has said as much as he was asked to leave the area. When we spoke to the manager, property manager, he justified his actions by saying that they didn't have insurance and that there was a potential to have dogs from another area on their property. I know. So
Not the heights, right? They didn't go
not
up the
to
heights
not to
out
make
there.
not to make this more confusing than it is, but the last time we were here for this application, a solution was recommended and it was ignored. So a signage is this really simple answer that really should have just, I wish, was taken into consideration and done, because now we're here however many years later and it's the same story. So I mean, as far as an extension, the conditions of approval from the last one obviously should carry over to this one. But as the zoning officer who writes the violations, I don't know why I don't know why you'd be granting, they're part of a condo. So if you're in a condo of 5 units, you don't give one person a benefit of the doubt because the whole building can't get its stuff together. That's just... And yes, I've reached out to Cindy Vogelman already, who has ignored my emails.
So Tanya, just on the point of issuing the summonses, you can issue a summons every day with a maximum fee, and it could go into the municipal court. So that's the enforcement branch, and I think, if the attitude's going to be we're going to discourage and restrict the public from that area, then the master association is going to have to account for that, and by extension, obviously, Mr. McCann's client, who is a member of that association, will wind up sharing in that displeasure a little further than what we can do.
Thank you, Counsel. I'll entertain a motion.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve case P 2024-0142 as presented to the board tonight.
Second.
Okay, motion is made and seconded for approval.
Vice Chair Dr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner Gagatin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Prince Airy.
Aye.
Commissioner Torres.
I just want to put on the record that I'm going to vote aye because the bottom line is the building is still an eyesore. And if they could get that done and cleaned up, so when we drive that way, we see a project completed after all these years. But I do agree that we need to put violations every day then on them. And if it becomes your client too, then so be it. That it becomes what it needs to be. And that's, I vote aye.
Commissioner Lipsky.
Yeah, I agree. Coming over the Pulaski is not pleasant with that one building, so let's get it done. I vote aye.
Commissioner Dr. Desai.
Aye.
Commissioner Green.
Aye.
Chairman Langston.
It's an aye, and counsel, please tell your client I'll be the old bearded man out there every day grilling. Okay?
Motion carries.
Thank
all
you.
in favor.
Thank
All
you
right.
for your time, everybody. I appreciate it.
Thank you, counsel. Okay, under new business, I do want to move one item up that I think we can clear up a few things. We're going to call item 13 as case P2024-0088. Is an amendment to a previous approval of P18-120 for 87 Bright Street. Good evening, council.
Counsel, there was a counterpart. Do you know where?
I believe they're out of the room right now.
So I'll just put my appearance on the record and we can
Sure.
enter notices. Stephen Joseph, Castano Quigley Trami for the applicant. We did notice for this application. If we can mark those into evidence, please.
So, Chairman, I am in receipt of the affidavit of publication proof of mailing with respect to the application at 87 Bright Street. I've had the opportunity to review it. It does appear to be in order, so we will mark it as A1 for purposes of the record.
So,
Counsel, I
council,
lost other counsel.
Council's right here.
do you want to put your appearance on record, council?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. So I'm Ann Studholm from Post Pollock, and I'm here on behalf of Cece DeLeon, her husband Tom, who has a long unpronounceable name that I haven't been able to learn yet. They are objectors. Sorry, Tom. I was just hired last night. And because Cece, who knows me, had called me just for some advice about exhibits, and I said, let me see what you're doing. And I said, oh my God, you have a terrible safety issue. Probably one a lot worse than you know.
So,
And-
counsel, we just went way further.
Yeah,
than
we just
your-
want
Yeah, I
the
know.
appearance
You just
right
wanted
now,
my
but
appearance,
that's
but
fine.
that's why
So,
I'm-
counsel,
that's why I'm here.
you represent,
I represent Cece DeLeon and her husband Tom in their personal capacities, but they're also the president and secretary of the Homeowners Association for their building at 85 Bright. So they're the immediately adjacent building.
so they own 85, and obviously the subject
Well, they own a
properties-
unit in 85, and they are president and secretary of the Homeowners Association, and my understanding is, but again, they just called me yesterday, so I don't even have a formal retainer. I might end up representing the HOA. At the moment, I represent Tom and Ceci.
Okay, understood. Thank you, counsel. So, Mr. Joseph, before we get into testimony, there's obviously some issues here, to say the least. And I don't even want this testimony to start without asking your client, number one, we don't have the previous approval resolution in the data portal. I think it showed up there this morning.
Okay.
Actually, I don't think it was this morning, because I looked for it this morning. I also think we need a copy of the easement agreement between your client and the Board of Ed, because I think the issue here is there's a permanent structure built in an agreement, an easement agreement that we have no knowledge of. Is the structure allowed there? Is it not allowed there? I know what your opinion's going to be.
Of course.
I know what council's opinion is going to be.
And I hear you loud and clear.
I want to see it on paper. I want to see the agreement. Let's see what it says in the agreement, and then we'll take it from there. So, Santo, did I miss anything that we want?
I believe that covers, at the very least, what the board needs to even hear the application and understand where the various pieces fall. But I think that perhaps whatever reviewing agencies or sign-offs that took place, let me digress. I understand the structure's been built and there are people residing in the structure. Is that fair, counsel?
That's correct. It's an existing building. It was renovated, and the structure, I guess, we're all referring to as the fire escape at the rear of the property.
But the structure I was referring to is the building. It's 4 units, and there are 4 families living in the structure?
That's correct.
Right. So presumably, at the very least, there's a TCO out there.
That's correct.
And I don't know if there are any documents supporting the TCO or not. Obviously, you don't have a CO, which is why you're here, but I won't go any further than that. Chairman, the only other question, and without having seen it, and again, this will be up for council to decide, is the Board of Ed was noticed of this meeting. I don't know if there's been any communication with the Board of Ed since the actual easement agreement was entered into. And if the Board of Ed appreciates what's going on in the easement or not, whether they have an opinion or not, whether they have an issue or not. So if that exists, great. If it doesn't, then you can't supply it, obviously. But Chairman, I think that that helps the board in understanding the ask and why the ask, I guess.
Thank you, counsel. Yeah, Mr. Joseph, I don't want to be an hour into testimony and find out that there's issues that we can't address. So I want to have every issue out in the open, not the day of the meeting. I want it in the data portal 10 days prior. Okay?
Absolutely.
So I think that's, fair to the board, it's fair to your client, it's fair to the public. Let's get everything out in the open. Okay? Before we make a decision, before we even take testimony. So
Chairman, the only other thing I would add is, in light of the fact that that's the request and council's going to provide that stuff to the board, I think if council has anything else that she wants to raise, if she's capable of raising it now,
absolutely,
I would like to hear what those requests are. This way, we're not hearing it at the next meeting, and Mr. Joseph is unable to address it at that point in time.
Thank you very much, Council and Mr. Chairman. I think the list of documents that you've requested is excellent. I'm also going to do what I can to get documents from my clients and submit them. I don't know if staff, if Tanya would upload them into the portal. I don't know your procedure on that, but do everything we can to submit documents. As I indicated to Stephen here, I apologize for forgetting everybody's names. I think there could be a resolution of this issue, but I am such a newcomer to it that I'm a little hampered there. But this will give us a chance to help educate everybody about this. I very much appreciate it. I would like to see those documents. I think they should be public. One thing I did want to reserve was my rights. I'm not sure that this was adequately noticed, and I don't want to be silent on that. I actually would like to go on record saying I think it was not adequately noticed. But if you're noticing for further date, or if they renotice, again, I don't want to make a big deal of that, but I do want to be able to preserve my ability. If it turns out, as I strongly suspect, that it wasn't properly noticed, again, I don't know if the board got noticed. There was no notice in the packet. The online packet didn't have the certifications, and my clients did not receive mailed notice. I just don't know, because this is an amendment of an application. I have to look into that. I just want to reserve my ability for that.
So this is what I'm going to say to how we're going to handle the exchange of documents. You obviously have the right to present witnesses and exhibits. Whatever you're going to present has to be shared with Mr. Joseph. Our rule is 10 days before.
Yes.
So typically for applicants, however, when we have a known objector, it applies to the objector as well. I'm going to request that anything that you want to present to the board, you send via email to myself with a copy to Mr. Joseph, as well as to Planning Director Marione, and we will, and Secretary Cameron, for us to hash out before anything goes up on the portal from yourself.
Okay, fine.
The documents we just mentioned should have been submitted either with the application, and perhaps they were and didn't make it to the portal. So I'm less concerned about that. Finally, with respect to the notice, of course, I would not try to prevent you from raising any objection. Council, I don't know, we're going to carry this to a date certain. We're not going to require additional notice. However, in light of the fact that council has raised this issue, if you want to look at it and notice for that date, I get the feeling you're going to have time to get that notice done. That'll be your call, obviously. You're the applicant. It's at your peril. Do we have an idea of a date that we would carry to? Again, the building's operating, so I'm sure your client's anxious to move forward, but.
And all the documents that were requested are on the public record, so we could upload those tomorrow to the portal.
Okay.
We have the 8th and the 22nd
Yes.
Of October.
of October, correct?
I'd like to make a floor amendment to that. I can't be here the 22nd, so if we could skip that date. I believe our next date is November 12th. If that's okay.
That's the date then, Chairman.
Okay, thank you.
Unless anybody on the board has an issue with the November 12th.
Anybody else?
Okay, we got the ground rules. Any other questions?
At this point, thank you very much.
Thank you so
Okay.
much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
Okay.
everybody.
So we'll make a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to carry case P 2024-0088 to a date certain of November 12th
Second.
with preservation of notice.
Okay, motion is made and seconded for a carry to November 12th.
Vice Chair Dr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner Gungadin. Councilwoman Prinzary.
Aye.
Commissioner Torres. Commissioner Lipsky.
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. Desai.
Aye.
Commissioner Green.
Aye.
And Chairman Lyson.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries all in favor.
Thank you. Let's move on to item 10 is case P2024-0020. Is a signage application for 909 Bergen Avenue. Good evening, council.
Good evening, Chair. Good evening, Chairman. Good evening, Commissioners. Gerard Pizzillo from Genova Burns, appearing this evening on behalf of the applicant. You don't have to. No, you can just. I'm hearing on behalf of the applicant, DCI Sign and Awnings. The application before you is for a minor site plan with deviations for signage. The property, 909 Bergen Avenue, is located in the Art Deco zone of the Journal Square redevelopment area. Because there are deviations, we did notice this application. I did provide a copy of that notice, and it is uploaded on the portal. Just ask if council has had a chance to review that and everything is accurate.
Thank you, Council. Chairman, Board, Council did provide me with a copy of the notice prior to the meeting. I've had the opportunity to review it. It does appear to be in order, and we're going to mark it as A1 for purposes of the record.
Thank you, council.
Thank you, Council. I appreciate it. So I'll get right into it. This is a pretty standard request for a sign. The end user is H&R Block. H&R Block currently operates in 30 Journal Square. They're moving across the street to 909 Bergen Avenue. We did receive the authorization from the landowner to appear before the board this evening for this request. So we did check that box. There are 3 minor deviations that we are requesting, are 2 deviations and a design waiver. The maximum square footage for signage in the Journal Square is 20 square feet. The sign we're proposing is 22 square feet. The channel letters, it's a channel letter sign, internally illuminated, so that triggers an additional deviation. And then the 3rd design waiver is for the corporate logo of green, similar, H&R Block. The redevelopment plan only permits black and white and requires any other color to come before you. We have 2 brief witnesses, Emerson, 2 quick ones. 2, Emerson Chiamaco from DCI Signs, who will testify as to Chiamaco. who will testify as to the materials, the dimensions, and the colors, and then Samuel Bellamy from Dresner Robin, who will testify with regards to the deviations that we're requesting. So all that said, I'll turn it over to Emerson. I could plug my computer in so the board or the members of the public can see the sign. We will be testifying from the signs that are on, from the plans that are on the portal, so there's no presentation or additional exhibits. So I'll
Okay.
just plug this in right now.
Thank you, counsel.
Okay, Emerson.
Yes. Emerson Siamacco, Emerson Ciamacco.
Good evening, sir. Go ahead.
Yes.
Sure.
Gerard.
We're not qualifying you as an expert, is that correct?
No.
Okay. Why not? Well, because he is just a fact witness as to the sign installer.
Okay.
So he's not a engineer, he's not an architect, he's just testifying factually with regards to the sign dimensions and how it's gonna be installed. He's not a sign expert. Well, he may be a
No, I
sign-
am a sign expert.
Well,
I
thank
worked
you.
for 20 years in the sign business, but
I
I'm not an engineer or architect, but yes.
Counsel, I was gonna
I have
say,
20 plus years experience on this.
you know, as a union organizer, I think that, you know, does not having a college degree and license make you not an expert?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you.
I'm, the experts that this board is used to, that
All right, so sir, if you could
Let's hear
just give
from your
us
sign expert.
give us
Oh, yes.
a background
so we're
of
proposing
your.
a sign that's illuminated, channel letters. It's gonna be installed on a raceway. The letters are gonna be installed on raceways. The size that he said is a little exceeds the allowance.
Sir, we just have to wait for council to get it up on the screen. Bear with him.
Bear with him.
Not a technology expert.
I'm not. Luckily, I came before to make sure. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is the set of plans that it's uploaded to the portal, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, continue.
So the size of the sign exceeds a little bit the square footage allowed, which is 20 square feet, I think. And the size is 11 feet 3 inches and 11/16 by 24 inches high. That's the width and the height. And the letters are 12 inches and 5/8. And the color, it's the corporate colors, which is black and white and green. And the letters are going to be made of aluminum with the acrylic face internally illuminated with LEDs and installed on a raceway. That the raceway is going to be installed in the building as it's, I think it's leg bolts. Yes, leg bolts or threaded rods. That's on the last page. That's basically it.
I do, believe it or not, I do have a question about this. Just regarding the size of the sign. It is, you had it in front of me, thanks, Gerard. 24 inches by 11 foot 3 and 11/16 inches. 11 foot 3 and 11/16 is a pretty accurate number. Is there a reason why
Yeah,
it's
because-
that exact length?
Because that's how the logo is, and when you scale it proportionally to 24 inches, that's what the length that comes out.
Okay, so it's not a hardship issue. That could be scaled in CAD down to a 20 square foot sign, correct?
That could be, yeah.
Okay. All right, anybody else, any questions?
I have a question. The illumination on the sign, is it for 24 hours or during the working hours?
It's not going to be 24 hours late. We did have this conversation beforehand. We understand the board's comfort level with illumination on signage. So this would be commensurate with, you know, the hours of operation, give or take, you know, an hour after closing, just to, you know, so everyone's safely exiting the
That was good. Thank you, doctor. Yeah, that would have been a condition.
What are the hours of operation?
I was given the hours of operation. It's kind of It's a
Scaled hours.
It's starting on January 3rd. It's Monday. It's 9 to 6, but like usually it's like 9 to 6, and then when the tax season starts, it's 9 to 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're not gonna do 10 o'clock at night or have the thing on till midnight.
Usually the signs they are installed on a timer that you can it's automatic.
Understand, but we give them an extra hour afterwards, and you close at 11, and the sign is lit to 10. Midnight, that's not what we want.
The
So 11
understanding is
o'clock,
late
council?
hours, tax season, 8 PM
8
is the
PM is
late, so then you give the hour, it'd be no later than 9 PM.
Ever.
I don't know, is there such a thing? But ever, yes, yeah.
Yeah, ever.
Ever.
Okay, 9 PM.
9 PM, 9 PM. Fair.
That's nighttime.
Nighttime.
Okay, any other questions? Anybody?
Are we approving a larger size than required, or is that what you're asking?
That's correct. So the maximum required is 20 feet, so we're a touch over at 22.6. And that's the.
Square footage.
Square footage.
Square
that's
footage.
And there's a specific reason why you need that extra two?
Well, I mean, when you scale it, like I said, like if you put it 24 inches high, if you want to go down to 20 square feet, that 24 is probably going to be much smaller than we ideally it would be a nice looking sign there. So
I think part.
I didn't.
So in order to maintain the scale, the sign works out to be 22.6 square feet. Yes?
Is that correct?
He's asking you.
I'm asking you.
Yeah. He's not
well,
asking
I
you.
mean, at 2 feet high, at that
Right.
length,
At
that's
2 feet high,
okay.
when you scale it,
Mm-hmm.
to keep the proportion of the corporate requirements, it scales out that the box in which you make around the sign is 22.6 square feet, correct? So if you were to make the letters 16 inches tall and then scale based on that, your sign would shrink down as a result, correct?
Correct.
And it may be as small as 16 square feet, the box.
Yeah. Not really. Yeah.
Not really, but hypothetically.
Hypothetically.
And then, of course, the scale on the facade looks out of whack, correct?
Correct.
That's the reason you're asking
That-
for it. That's the reason it was designed that way,
That's
counsel.
exactly right. It's a scale thing, absolutely, 100%. I mean, and part of the reason you'll hear that, the request or the justifications are part of Mr. Bellamy's.
Which is why you have two witnesses.
Sure. So I should save that question for Mr. Bellamy?
I think he could put more flavor on it in terms of the justifications behind it, for sure. But I think from a design perspective, it's a scale, connecting with to ensure the proper dimensions of the corporate logo.
Yeah, because the corporate wants to keep the proportion, like.
Okay.
And that's why it comes out.
But my question is, again, in the computer, you can go up to that corner and
Yeah.
drag it down a little bit and make it 20 square feet. So I hope Mr. Bellamy can shed some light on
That's
why
in the
we can't
computer.
do that. But let's talk about it. So if there's no other questions, we'll move on to Mr. Bellamy.
Well, one thing that I'm not completely sure, but they have a company that makes the signs like nationwide for them. And they have like 24 inches, 18 inches, because they make it, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, understood. And there's no other place that has a sign requirement like this of 20 square feet?
Oh, I can't answer that. I wish I
Okay.
had the answer to that question.
Maybe Mr. Bellamy does.
I got a question, real quick.
Go ahead,
question
Ed.
for the expert, though. So, your expertise, they have 24-inch signs all over the country, right? You have to mount that sign on the building. If it's an 18-inch square sign, are you able to mount it on this building? Are you familiar with this facade. Where this is gonna go on Bergen Avenue.
Okay.
You'll be able to mount that sign without any problems, or it has to be a 24-inch one?
Oh, no, for the attachment, there's nothing to do with the size.
With the sign itself? Okay, all right, thank you very much.
Okay, anybody else? All right, thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
No problem.
Go ahead, counsel.
Chairman, with that, I'll call Mr. Bellamy.
Is he an expert?
I'll let you qualify. I'll never make that.
Yes, I do. Sure. Samuel Bellamy, last name Bellamy.
Mr. Bellamy, good evening. We've qualified you in the past. Your license is current today?
Good evening. Yes, it is current and in good standing.
Okay, thank you. You're qualified.
Yeah, I've been qualified as an expert professional planner. I'm with the firm Dressner Robin.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. And Sam, if you want to just get right into it, I mean, I think you heard some of the colloquy back and forth with regards to one of the deviations that we're requesting, the size of the sign, so.
Yeah, so answering the question, I certainly wouldn't qualify this as a hardship under the hardship test. I think it relates to the flexible standard where the benefits outweigh the detriments. Given how the city measures signage area, it's measured from the smallest box you could create around the perimeter of the sign. So given the green square is 24 inches, that goes measured all the way across the approximately 13 feet. So you have some gap between the lettering size and the green square size. The requirements does permit a maximum signage height of 32 inches. So we're in scale with that. But just given the length of the sign, that's what brings us over and, tandem with how the area is measured. I think we are meeting the intent of the scaling requirement, even though we do slightly exceed by 2.6 square feet. But I think the lettering size and the overall signage area is consistent. It's just really a matter of measuring, given the, as Mr. Chiamaco testified to, the typical square they use for their branding. That would be my testimony as it relates to the signage area. We're also asking for a design waiver for the signage color. Obviously, the green square, the redevelopment plan only permits black and white lettering and signage color. I think that the lettering itself is compliant and it's consistent with kind of that general mix along this commercial corridor of Bergen Avenue. I would say overall, the location is located a part of Bergen Avenue that is retail required along this strip. So, providing a new business in this currently vacant storefront, I think, and appropriate signage overall will be consistent with the zone plan in this instance. We are asking for also a deviation for the internal sign illumination. The channel lettering itself is permitted. The signage material, the acrylic signage is permitted. Internal illumination is prohibited. So it requires either external like goose light or uplighting illumination. We're asking for the internal sign illumination. That's kind of consistent with what channel lettering really is what you typically see. As you heard, the lighting will only be lit during basically business hours, and it provides for appropriate wayfinding for the storefront. I think overall, again, I think the benefits here outweigh the detriments. Again, this is consistent with the commercial storefront area along Bergen Avenue. This project does promote the purposes of the municipal land use law. I think it continues to allow for a retail use. It's appropriate use and use of the property consistent with purpose A. I think that the signage overall is consistent with the commercial character along Bergen Avenue, consistent with purpose I. I don't see any impacts to the general welfare or good here. I think we're consistent with the goals and objectives of the redevelopment plan and master plan. We're consistent with the goal of this Art Deco zone. And one of the objectives is to encourage local quality retail within the greater Journal Square area. I think this appropriate signage does that with that commercial space. So with that, I would say that the positive and negative criteria has been met here, but I'd be happy to answer any questions or expand upon my testimony.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bellamy. As far as the internal illumination goes, the entire let's say, green box, obviously H&R Block, and is the gray portion behind the name illuminated?
We could flip to it. I believe the LED lights are installed within the lettering itself and the green square itself, not the band that it's on.
Okay, but there's nothing outside of that area.
Correct. There's no additional
Okay.
lighting beyond that.
Okay, that's my only question. Anybody else? All right, thank you, Mr. Bellamy. Counsel, is that your testimony?
That will conclude our presentation, Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody here from the public that wants to comment on this application?
Mr. Chair, seeing no public, I move to close.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. Public is closed. Matt, do you want to add anything?
Certainly. Staff would like to start by substantiating Mr. Bellamy's testimony as valid and accurate in the professional opinion of staff as well. So this stretch of Bergen Avenue, where this is located, this is the stretch essentially between Bergen Square and the heart of Journal Square, if anyone's familiar with this. You would be hard-pressed to find a conforming sign on this stretch. It just appears in the way business has been conducted that these standards as written are sort of incompatible with the modern needs of business, and perhaps the board should study changing them. That being said, staff recognizes the board's concern around channel letter illumination at nighttime hours and requests that as a condition of approval, the sign not be illuminated later than 1 hour after business closes for the day. Staff recommends approval of the conditions.
Okay. Matt, before we take a motion, Steve, you have a question?
One other thing, if you're going to recommend updating it, I agree, because it's a hodgepodge of either hilarity or heinousness in terms of the harbingers that are there. But in terms of even the lighting, with the great infrastructure repair of Bergen Square, those lights are out there, and over the summer, I've seen families hanging out in Bergen Square upward of midnight. So, lights on that particular stretch, I don't think, 10 o'clock, it's going to affect the Western world. And I think in terms of normalcy, you've got a national brand. So I'm going to sweat about 2 feet. And, you've got the U.S. Post Office sign and Provident Bank on that same street, which has a sense of commerce. The rest of it looks like a circus pulled into town. That's my comment.
Certainly, I think, it's the board's prerogative whether they want to impose that condition or not. Staff is comfortable either way. So if the board is loath to impose a nighttime restriction on the sign, then staff is comfortable with that as well. But it's ultimately the board's prerogative.
So we make it a policy that any illuminated signage, we don't want it on all night. So, I think an hour after closing is a fair number.
But at the same token, that whole Bergen Square is lit upward of midnight and beyond. So
Sure.
I'm just saying is if you
Well,
put-
this is why we say an hour after closing. I don't know what those other shops are, what
No,
those
I'm
stores
saying
are.
the city has lights on.
Oh, sure.
Those new poles that are lit, it looks exquisite, and families are coming out.
Sure.
It's a different culture. Many of them have hijabs on, and they're, big families. I think it's great. I was loving seeing it. It's certainly a difference than it had been before.
No, I thought you were talking about store signage.
No, I am.
Store
I'm saying
signage
is
that
if
was
you want to
illuminated.
have synchronicity and continuity and consistency, if the city's going to keep lights on and allow families to sit at number 11 school or in these new pocket parks on Academy and Bergen, then, I think illumination, crime prevention through environmental design.
Sure.
More light, less crime. But that's only me.
Okay.
For consideration.
Okay. Matt, I do have a question about the sign standards. So, I guess this is something we should be looking at. Just, not everything fits into a rectangle. So if, the predominant image on that sign is that green square, maybe we should look at changing the standard to where the rest of the sign is just proportionate around the lettering and not just a rectangle?
Yes, I mean, that is a notion worth considering. I'd also like to point out that a lot of these standards here that they're asking for deviations for, aside from channel lettering, pertain to the specificities of the deco zone of the Journal Square redevelopment plan and not our overall sign ordinance. Our overall sign ordinance is more liberal than this. And some of these problems are unique to the prescriptions of this redevelopment plan.
Okay.
But certainly there can be a wider conversation about signs overall. Obviously, any changes are ultimately the prerogative of City Council, but the board is free to study and send to council whatever they'd like ultimately.
Okay. All right, thank you. So,
Mr. Chair, I'd like to
I'll
make a
entertain
motion to approve case P 2024-0020 as presented to the board tonight.
Second.
And that's with the condition of Matt's condition, an hour over?
Yeah, we're talking about an hour after closing. Is that okay? So that motion is with the condition, just to clarify?
Okay, so that motion is with the condition of 1 hour after closing.
And that's acceptable to the applicant.
Okay, thank you, counsel.
Vice Chair Dr. Gonzalez?
Aye.
Commissioner Gangadin? Aye. Commissioner Councilwoman Prince Airy?
Aye.
Commissioner Torres?
I just wanted to say to my friend, the expert, I'm a tradesman. I'm an installer. And they consider me an expert in my field. So you are an expert. With that, I'm going to vote aye.
Commissioner Lipsky?
I hope that with the expansion of the sign will bring expanded business. I vote aye.
Commissioner Desai?
Aye.
Commissioner Green?
Aye.
And Chairman Langston?
Aye.
Motion carries, all in favor.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Commissioners. Have a good night.
Mike, do you want to take take a break now? It's 7 o'clock. Okay, we're going to take a 10-minute break, everybody. It's 7 o'clock. We'll be back around 7:10. Eddie, I don't think I've ever seen your work in person. I don't think I've ever seen your work in person. Again, please, everybody.
Little one.
And we'll call item 11, case P2024-0034 as a minor site plan for 54 Cottage Street. Good evening, council.
Peter Ceccinini on behalf of the applicant. I have the original proofs of service.
Excellent.
Thank you, counsel. Chairman, receive the affidavit of publication, proof of mailing with respect to the application. It does appear to be in order. Can mark it as A1 for purposes of the record. Chairman, this application was at a previous hearing and carried through to tonight with the preservation of notice.
Thank you, counsel.
Thank you, Mr. Lempe. 54 Cottage Street is currently a two-family house. The applicant seeks to demolish the house while preserving the historic facade and replace it with a 4-story, 8-unit residential building with rooftop amenities. You may recall that approvals were previously granted a year or two ago for the same property, but since then the zoning has changed and the applicant's able to improve on the original plans. Our first witness is going to be the architect, Carlo Enza. I'd like to call him.
Thank you, counsel.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Should we? Probably, right?
Yeah, show your plans.
So much dongles.
Sounds good.
You swear any testimony you give tonight is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
State and spelling your name.
My name is Carlo Frugiueli, F-R-U-G-I-U-E-L-E.
Frugiueli?
Yeah, Frugiuele would be the correct Italian
Okay.
pronunciation.
All right.
Frugiueli.
I believe you've been before us.
I've been here
correct?
before,
Okay. Is your license current tonight?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you, you're qualified.
Thank you.
So Carl, if you could just describe the project to your board.
Okay.
Is there a microphone? Yeah, you just gotta turn it on.
There's a handheld one right behind you there.
Hello? Yep, good. Okay.
There's a handheld one right there.
This one?
Oh, there we go. Good. A lot of steps.
Start singing too.
All right, good. Let me just walk you through the images of this. We're just going to go to the bottom of the presentation, and this gives you a quick visual of what we're doing here. So it's an original building, currently 3-story, as you can see in the renderings, and we are maintaining the facade, which has some historic relevance. We certainly agree with that. And then building in the back, we've worked closely with Matt, which has provided some really good points here. We hope we've integrated that well into making it a sensitive but yet modern addition to the neighborhood, which is improving rapidly and growing quickly. So we have improved on the floor plans, which I'll show you in a minute, to make it a more consistent layout, a more efficient building, code compliant, safer, and with the 2 staircases located within the building. So with that said, it's an 8-unit residential building. I'll just give you a quick introduction to the floor plans. As you can see, maintaining the street facade, and then having a well orchestrated, at least we think, or balanced core with the elevator and the stairs. We looked at a couple different options to compact this, but this seems to be the most efficient. And then having these 1-bedroom units with a common core share for bathrooms and kitchen. So we think it's a very efficient layout that will provide good housing for the neighborhood, but yet within some kind of affordability, let's put it this way. They're not enormous, but yet they're well and modern. Now we are asking, and I'll leave perhaps Sam to explain a little bit more of what we were originally asking for deviation, which happens to be no longer the case.
Yeah, Sam will get into that. You just describe the layout, the amenities.
Yep. We have a lower level basement, we can call it that way, with storage units as well as a bike area, which we hope will be a good feature for the residents, as well as the front area, which has been developed to be landscaped. Let me show you again the renderings here. Landscaped and with a tree in front and some kind of greenery, which will prevent again parking in the front, which is what the current use of the front yard is. We're going to have a accessible roof, which provides some kind of relief also from the bustling of the city and the ability for the residents to enjoy some outdoor spaces. That's in a nutshell, I would say.
All right, and you're in receipt of Mr. De Silva's planning review letter dated September 20th, right? You had to look at that.
Yeah.
We're in agreement with all of his recommendations as conditions of approval, right?
Correct.
So does the board have any questions of Mr. Frugielli?
I do actually. There's currently front yard parking there, you mentioned. There we go.
Picture, yeah.
So, I hate to do it to you, but can you go back down to the
rendering?
Yeah, the rendering of the front.
Absolutely.
And I'm just going to ask for a couple dimensions here. So from that planter box to the left, where those stairs are.
Sorry, I gotta go to the site plan.
That's fine.
Yep. Right here.
So my concern is that somebody's going to park in front of those stairs.
Right here?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I mean, if there was very small car, maybe, I would say.
What's the width there, do you know? Legally?
The width there, I might not have it on the plans, but we're looking at less than about 7 feet. So a parking spot is usually 8 by 20, 8 by 18. I think they can possibly open the doors if they park there.
So I've lived in Jersey City for 22 years now,
hear
and
you.
if there's room, somebody's going to park there.
So from that bottom step to the sidewalk, what is that scale to?
And I can show you even on the model which I have, but let's say the reasoning behind this, Council, was that we wanted to leave the 5-foot radius for the handicap turn to get onto the ramp. And so that's why we left a slightly more open space there. So again, here you can see the 310 for the ramp, and so we have a 5-foot turning radius here. So if we push this out, let's say the planter, to prevent the parking area, then we're running into an issue with this area and accessibility. If we push the stairs out, that's a possibility. It would just make, you know, kind of a longer, call it walkway to get there. We'd probably do that, but we want to make sure that we got space here, that
Sure.
5 foot.
I mean, I think the bigger concern for accessibility is when somebody parks a car there and nobody can get through there with a, you know, with a wheelchair or a walker or something like that. And so from those stairs to the sidewalk is the, you know, what are we talking there?
I mean, we could put some,
Ballers?
yeah, ballers in the front just to prevent a car from driving through, or
I hate to ask for bollards because the look just, yeah, it's terrible. I know that's the easy fix, but
Are you sure you could push those stairs out and still make it handicap accessible? Because we could just agree to that as a condition.
all I know is that we did spend some time right on this area just to make sure we had those clearances. And so we settled on this. Again, we're not against anything to facilitate accomplishing what needs to be accomplished. We just want to make sure we had enough room to turn around.
no, I agree. That's, you know, that's something you should have. It's just, it looks like, to me, if someone, not if, when someone parks there, that car is going to be hanging over into the sidewalk.
Which is why I asked, from the sidewalk to that front step, what is that scale to? Obviously, if that's 7 feet,
I mean, the only way would be for me to measure. I can do it quickly for you if you want to.
Chairman, I think if that's 7 feet plus the 5 for the sidewalk, you got 12 feet, and somebody's absolutely gonna.
If you're saying from here to here? About
From the front step
To the sidewalk.
Okay.
Chairman Langston,
ahead.
may I privilege the board with a suggestion that might?
Of course.
5 feet
So.
So 5 feet to the sidewalk.
for the sidewalk.
So somebody's going to take 10 feet and block 5 foot of the sidewalk.
Probably 8 feet to the sidewalk. Yeah.
So the sidewalk along this stretch of Cottage contains a planting strip. If you can ensure there's a tree well located to obscure any potential car trying to mount the curb over there,
Everybody
that
wins.
might be appropriate.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
Certainly, and if that requires a deviation from forestry standards to fit a tree well, that's something can work with city staff on.
Give that all day long, that deviation. No problem. Yeah.
So on that block, the sidewalk is kind of narrow. And I don't think there's a tree between Summit and Kennedy Boulevard on that entire block. There are a number of overhanging cars, at least about 8 to 12 on each side. So I don't know if, having one tree on the block versus maybe a planter box or some other ecologically beautiful arrangement.
Yeah, that's certainly if, not having the dimensions in front of us, I think if we can keep the condition to a broader landscaping feature, whether that be a permanent planter box or a tree, and that's something that, the applicant and staff can work on
Absolutely.
between a potential approval and signature plans.
Absolutely. Okay.
Okay, yeah, yeah, we could
Excellent.
agree to that, of course. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Any other questions? Anybody?
Nope.
Okay, thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I recognize I'm still under oath from the prior application.
Okay, thank you. And you are still qualified.
Thank you.
For the record, Sam Bellamy, our planner.
So when we originally submitted this application, I believe it was back in June, we're in the Zone 4 of the Journal Square redevelopment plan. We were asking for 2 deviation. One was for the building depth, the maximum extension from the right-of-way, which is 70 feet was permitted, and we were asking for 85 feet. And also we were asking for a deviation for the maximum appurtenance height on the roof. Since then, and I believe the date was August 14th, this board recommended to the council, which then adopted plan amendments to the redevelopment plan. Largely, those amendments were to include the mandatory affordable housing, which does not apply to this project as it's Zone 4, but there was also some bulk changes to the zones, as well as the changes to the rooftop section of the redevelopment plan. With those changes, the rear yard setback requirement changed from the maximum depth from the building extension from the right-of-way to now a 30-foot or 30% requirement, whichever is less. We have a lot depth of approximately 116 feet, so that in this case it's a 30-foot minimum rear yard setback requirement. We're proposing a setback of 31.2 feet here, so we're meeting now the new requirement of the redevelopment plan, removing the need for the deviation request that we were seeking when we originally submitted this application. With respect to the maximum rooftop appurtenance height, that requirement was originally a 10-foot from the roof to the top of the bulkhead height requirement. That requirement was removed from the redevelopment plan. Therefore, we are now referring back to the Jersey City Land Development Ordinance, which has similarly a 10-foot height requirement for this building height that we're proposing, but it's a building height on top of what's permitted in the zone. So it's a 44-foot building height standard plus 10 feet, so you are 54 feet to the top of the bulkhead. What we're proposing is a 42-foot building with a 12-foot rooftop enclosed area, so we're in line with that 54-foot standard. So with that, I think we no longer need the 2 deviations that we were originally seeking, and that this project complies with all other bulk standards of the redevelopment plan. With that, I think that this project does continue to meet the purposes of the redevelopment plan and the Zone 4 here. We do promote the purposes of the municipal land use law. And again, this is an as-of-right development now with the new zoning. So it's good to see those changes that were recommended be implemented on some of these projects. In this case, creating a conforming project in line with what the zoning calls for.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bellamy. Any questions? Anyone? All right, thank you, sir. Council, that's your presentation?
That's it.
Okay. Is there anybody here from public that wants to comment on this application?
Mr.
Anyone
Chair,
from public?
Seeing no public, I move to close.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. Public is closed. Matt, do you have anything you want to add?
So staff did submit a memo dated September 20th. So this project was initially submitted, and my memo adjudicates the project under the standards of the old zoning. That being said, as the applicant is requested to be adjudicated under the new zoning since the amendment to the Journal Square redevelopment plan went in, I guess, around a month or 2 ago at this point. It is now an as-of-right project. It's actually parcels like this that spurred on this rear yard change. We had undersized, the original standard was basically made both undersized and oversized parcels almost unable to conform and actually have a buildable floor plate. This is a 116-foot deep yard, and so the new standard reads either 15% of the depth of the yard or 30 feet, whichever is less. And so in this case, the 30 feet standard governs, and a 30-feet yard is very much standard really across the city on 100-foot deep yards, deep lots, and this is a somewhat larger lot than a standard city lot. That being said, this is an as-of-right application. It meets all standards. It is a facade preservation project. This particular building is in the historic inventory and was denied demolition. And as I'd like to state with all of our facade preservation projects, if in the course of construction something were to happen to the facade, the site plan is immediately null and void.
And we've accepted that as a condition of approval.
Yes, so there were 7 conditions laid out in the memo, and in addition, I'd like to propose, based on the discussion that happened between the board and the applicant, an 8th condition related to the provision of a tree or other landscaping feature that provides a physical barrier to a car occupying the front yard space. Staff recommends approval of conditions.
Okay. And council, you're okay with all those conditions, correct?
Yes, we are.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve case P 2024-0034 as presented to the board tonight with that condition of the tree or other feature in front.
Second.
Okay, motion is made and seconded for approval with conditions.
Vice Chair Dr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner Gangadin.
Aye.
Commissioner Councilwoman Prince Airy.
Aye.
Commissioner Torres.
Aye.
Commissioner Lipsky.
It's good to see, as Mr. Bellamy said, how our zoning for community mixed use is catching up with your presentation, and I think be careful about tree there, but I vote aye.
Commissioner Desai.
Aye.
Commissioner Green.
Aye.
And Chairman Langston.
It's an aye for me. This is one of the, honestly, one of the best reuses of a historic facade that I've seen. Really nice work. I appreciate it. So it's an aye.
Motion carries, all in favor.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's move on to item 12, is case P2023-0033, is a minor site plan for 721 Newark Avenue.
Yes, that's Peter Cecchini. Again, on behalf of the applicant, we have the same cast of characters here.
Perfect.
Here's the original service. We can make that an exhibit. 721 Newark is actually connected to the prior application. The 2 lots are connected at the back. Applicant owns them both. It's currently a 1-story commercial building. The applicant seeks to demolish this building. It's not a historic building. I believe it was built in the 70s. Seeks to demolish it and replace it with a 4-story building with commercial on the first floor and 6 residential units above with rooftop access. So I would again call Mr. Frugelli.
Council, some things that were built in the 70s are just fine. Don't worry about it.
Chairman, for purposes of the record, I am receiving the affidavit publication proof of mailing. It does appear to be in order. This is another application that was previously scheduled and carried through to tonight with preservation of notice. A1.
Thank you, council.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm still under oath.
Before you start, if you could just, for the record, recognize that you have been sworn in, qualified, and are still under oath tonight?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I am. Okay, so we have the companion building, we could call, as it abuts the building to the rear. We originally evaluated the possibility of making it into a 1 building. Results in being 2 separate buildings, which is advantageous to the character of the city, we believe, addressing properly both streets. In this case, there is an existing building, as council has pointed out, which served its purpose for the time, but we realize that as we move forward in history, things need to change, and therefore are proposing a larger structure. It's a fairly simple floor plan with an open ground floor, which will be commercial. We try to minimize the impact of the circulation, but certainly being a narrow lot, it results in kind of a long space. However, commercial uses of perhaps offices or something like that would work well. We left that appendix, let's call it, in the L shape as an open space, which will be recreational, let's say, or just at least a relief space for the occupants of the commercial space. This should provide additional light and air for the neighboring buildings. On the upper floors is a similar layout to what I've showed you on the cottage side, with the exception that we're able, because of less limitations, of course, here to provide a 2-bedroom setup. Still, again, reasonably small, but yet we believe compacted and organized well to take advantage of this unique lot. The units are the same. We offer some outdoor spaces. This will be, you can see here on the roof of the commercial area below. Should be a wonderful space to spend some time with friends and family. As per the previous building, we also have a accessible roof area, which will provide some relief, again, for the occupants. And finally, it is a somewhat minimalistic building, and I'll show you some of the renderings we've created that show a integrated yet modern, cleaner, more efficient design than its neighboring counterparts. Substantially, that's what we're proposing here.
Could you just go over the screening on the mechanical units on the roof?
Yes, absolutely. We have here probably a better view on the elevations. We're considering a semi-open enclosure, which means there will be created most possibly with an aluminum type of boarding or planks supported by metal post. And this should be enough to enclose, screen, and integrate into this very linear design that we have. So it shouldn't stick out in any form. From the renderings, if it's of any use, we see, and so here you have a bit of more of a three-dimensional view of that. We should be able to see that there isn't really much of an impact on either side. These are, fairly accurate renditions of what you would see from the street. So they're tucked back and semi-invisible to the street.
If we could, that aluminum screening, can we make sure that has a matte finish on it so it doesn't reflect sunlight?
By all means.
Okay. All right, that's it for me. Anybody else? Any questions?
Nope.
All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, I'll again call Mr. Bellamy.
And Mr. Bellamy, again, can you just confirm that you have been sworn in and are still qualified and still under oath
I
tonight?
confirm. I recognize I'm still under oath from the prior applications.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right. This project is located in the Zone 5 Commercial Main Street Zone, so even though we're adjacent to the prior project, different zoning here. Similarly, we were asking for one deviation when we originally submitted this project. That deviation was the rooftop appurtenance height. We were asking for 12 feet where 10 feet was permitted. So again, with the redevelopment plan amendments, removing that requirement from the General Square plan, it defers back to the Jersey City Land Development Ordinance, allows for an additional 10 feet of building height for rooftop appurtenances, elevator, bulkheads. So with that, we're proposing 54 feet to the top of our elevator bulkhead, in line with what the base building height requirement of 44 feet of the Zone 5 is, plus the 10 additional feet for rooftop appurtenances. So again, this is an as-of-right project. It complies with the new zoning. Overall, it meets the positive criteria, promotes the purposes of the municipal land use law. And again, it is a permitted mixed-use building, so it's in line with the zone plan of the redevelopment plan. So with that, that would conclude my testimony on this one.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bellamy. Any questions? All right, thank you, sir.
So I just reiterate that, like the other application, we will accept all the conditions of approval from Mr. De Silva's planning report, as well as the condition for the matte finish on the screening for the mechanicals on the roof.
Okay, thank you, council. We appreciate it. So at this time, let's open it up for public comment. Is anybody here from public that wants to comment on this application?
Mr. Chair, I see no public. I move to close.
Second.
All right, motion made and seconded. Public is closed. Matt, do you have anything you want to add?
Not much. So staff submitted a memo dated 9/20. As Mr. Bellamy stated, this is an as-of-right project. This is basically as standard as it gets in Journal Square. Staff recommends approval with conditions, including the referenced matte finish condition. And that's really it.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion at this time to approve case P 2023-0033 with conditions outlined.
Second.
Okay, motion is made and seconded for approval with conditions.
Vice Chair Dr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner Gangadin.
Aye.
Commissioner Councilwoman Prinzeri.
Aye.
Commissioner Torres.
Aye.
Commissioner Lipsky.
They're going to be a great addition for Journal Square. I vote aye.
Commissioner Desai.
Aye.
Commissioner Green.
Aye.
And Chairman Langston.
Aye.
Motion carries, all in favor.
Okay, thank you.
Board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now let's move on to item 14, is case P23-044, is a preliminary and final major site plan for 604 to 606 Communipaw Avenue. Good evening, council.
Good evening, Stephen Joseph of Castano Quigley Trami for the applicant. I do have notices here that will enter.
Chairman, I received the affidavit of publication proof of mailing with respect to the application at 604 to 606 Communipaw Avenue here in the city. This matter was scheduled for the August 20th meeting and carried through to tonight with preservation of that notice. I had the opportunity to review it. It does appear to be in order, and I'll mark it as A1 for the record.
Thank you, council.
All right, 604, 606 Communipaw. What we're proposing here is a new 6-story building. There's 69 dwelling units, ground floor commercial, 20 parking spaces. This is an as-of-right project. There are no variances associated with the application. The application's also utilizing an affordable housing bonus. So there is one affordable unit in the building. And in order to utilize that bonus, we also had to be designated as a redeveloper. So there's a redeveloper agreement with the JCRA as part of this project. We do have an architect and an engineer here this evening. We're going to start with architecture. And let's get Anthony sworn in.
I do. Here we go.
Yeah, sure. Anthony C. Vandermark Jr., VANDERMARK, Principal of MVMK Architecture.
Mr. Vandermark, good evening. Your license is current tonight?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. You're qualified.
Great, thank you. It is a little uncomfortable with all the tech in this room.
Does that not reach the podium anymore? Mr. Vandermark, can you tell me how many slides you got in your slide presentation, and if you want to mark it as an exhibit, the entire thing?
Sure, I have... That work? Okay, I have 15 slides, and I probably intend on using maybe potentially 8.
All right, let's mark all of them. We'll mark it as A2. And I don't see a date on it, so we'll put today's date, and you'll submit that post-hearing. Thank you.
All set?
All set.
All right, great. Again, as Mr. Joseph had previously stated, we are here for 604, 606 Communipaw. We have a 6-story building at 65 feet in total height for 69 residential units. The property sits in the Jackson Hill redevelopment plan, mixed-use zone 1. Highlighted here in the center in red, it borders with Communipaw Avenue, which is directly to the south, Harrison Avenue above, Monticello to the east, and then Bergen Avenue being a very long way to the west. The intersecting street is Jackson Street. Walking your way through some of the pre-existing site conditions, there's an existing two-story masonry building. It housed an empanada shop. It is mixed use. I believe there's residential above. Directly behind it being a through lot, you're on Harrison Avenue. Again, it's a two-story masonry building. There's an adjacent paved parking lot that's also included in the site. Just talking about the Jackson Hill redevelopment plan. As previously stated, this is an as-of-right application. Very happy to state that. Of the 69 residential units being proposed, we are proposing 10 studios, 35 one-bedrooms, 19 two-bedrooms, and 5 three-bedrooms. The site area is 13,390 square feet, which is 0.3 acres. We are proposing one affordable unit as part of this application. Just a quick amendment to the original testimony by Mr. Joseph. Just through some different city engineering comments, we reduced the overall parking proposal from 20 to 18, which is still compliant with the redevelopment plan. So again, the application is 18 parking spaces, one in which is ADA compliant, and we have 3 electrical vehicle charging stations, which is compliant with the state mandate. Proposed survey you have before you. Again, we have a 2-story masonry building that's in the shaded area. We have a paved parking lot, which is white. In this diagram, we have 120 linear feet of frontage on Communipaw Avenue and 121 linear frontage on Harrison Avenue. To the western side, which is the long side yard, we have 119 linear feet, and to the eastern side, we have 105. So the lot's kind of shaped like a trapezoid, but still all in all, more or less a square. The building and plan, as you can see before you, it is a kind of a fat I shape. We have a courtyard in the center to the west, a courtyard in the center to the east. On the 2 street frontages, we are proposing all new sidewalks and curbing, as well as 5 street trees facing Communipaw Avenue, 4 street trees facing Harrison Avenue. We have 1 proposed curb cut, which is on the opposite side of the property on Harrison Avenue. That is 20 feet, 8 inches wide. That is to the flare aprons. The actual driveway apron is 18 feet in width. That occurs 20 feet, 8 inches from the western property edge. Very common dimensions, and again, we only have 1 vehicular access for the 18 parking spaces as being proposed. Part of the city traffic comments is that the Jackson Street intersection, directly in front of this property on Communipaw is an incident-filled intersection. Therefore, we moved the curb cut and all the vehicular traffic to the opposite side of the property on a lesser traveled street, which is Harrison Avenue. Again, in plan, we have a simple bulkhead assembly, 6-story building in plan, and the 2 one-story sections, which are the courtyards. As part of this application and the redevelopment plan, they require a 15-foot setback from the curb line. We are fully compliant with that, so that actually meant moving the building line 6 foot 7 inches off of the property in the front, and we're at 0 property line in the back, which is compliant with the redevelopment plan. Graphic to the left at the first floor, we're proposing 1 retail unit on Communipaw Avenue, and that's at 1,800 square feet. We have a centralized lobby for the residents, and directly to the eastern portion on Communipaw Avenue, we have a 1,300 square foot amenity that takes place over 2 levels. Directly behind it, you have a stair and elevator bank and the 18 parking spaces, which is previously mentioned. To the back on Harrison Avenue, which is more of kind of a service corridor, we have the transformer and different utilities being connected through that elevation. The right side floor plan, which is the second floor, which is the atypical of the floors, we are proposing 13 units on this floor, and that is part of program with two 435 square foot studios, 7 525 square foot one bedrooms to 620 square foot bedrooms, 3 two bedrooms at 715 to 820, and 1 3 bedroom at 1,330 square feet. So 13 units here. Bottom right-hand corner, as you can see, is the upper portion of the amenity level. We are proposing a common area terrace, as you can see, 600 square feet to the eastern face. You will get a little bit of eastern view at this level. And then we have 4 private terraces at the second level to the western courtyard. All the other floors, 3rd through 6th, are standard, 14 units per floor. Again, we have 2 studios that are 435 square feet. We have 7 one-bedrooms, 525 to 620. And we have 4 two-bedrooms that range from 715 to 825. And once again, that's that 1 3-bedroom, which is the upper left-hand corner at 1,330. So 69 units in total with a very nice program mix. And again, as part of this application, we are proposing 1 affordable unit. At the rooftop, we have no amenity. We have one 1,340 square foot common amenity roof deck. We are proposing 500 square feet of extensive green roofing off of the elevator bulkhead. And again, any of the mechanical equipment that's going to be located on the roof will be screened from view. Proposed front elevation that matches the opening rendering. We have a Roman-style brick used in 2 different dimensions that is edged band by an aluminum cladding system. As you can see, we have a kind of a varying building form with a 4-inch recess that separates the front from the back here. We have a corbelled top brick that simulates a cornice, which is in the background, and then in the foreground, again, we have a standard Roman brick pattern with some infill of ACM. Going back to the front elevation, we foresee a bone-colored or a very, very light gray with a terracotta accent aluminum clad banding. As you can see here, it's at staggering floor levels. We are proposing PTAX, so the louvers will match the aluminum composite material. Part of the edge banding system and also the coping cap will be in that terracotta color, which gives the building definition. At the sidewalkscape, as you can see, we are providing a series of projected awnings, still within our property boundary. That projection is 5 feet, and we have the retail signage and the building numbers centrally located here on that canopy system. Next slide below is a glazing schedule that we are fully compliant with in accordance to the redevelopment plan. Below is a detail of the canopy system, how it will be inset and separated from each other at each bay opening within the retail lobby and then also amenity space. Graphic in front of you is a close-up rendering of those canopy projections. And again, retail signage will be on the face of that canopy projection. We are providing a small number of downlights that are going to shine down and not upward at the building line. And this will set up a nice lighting effect, at dusk and in the evening. And of course, that will go off via timer or photocell at 10 o'clock. The rear elevation at Harrison Avenue, very similar to the front elevation, other than the garage door. Garage door is 16 feet in width, a central right location as we have shown here. Proposed elevation on Harrison Avenue matches the front facade, so that the building is somewhat identical from street to street. For the record, at the 65 feet, the first floor to second floor, floor-to-floor height is at 13 feet 4 inches, and then the residential floors are all common at 10 foot 4 inches. Building section at both courtyards, as you can see, will be a full-size cement board panel, within pattern, and we anticipate kind of a color match to the pre-existing palette that's going to be on the building. multiple views from a different direction and section. Again, a cement board panel system in similar color scale to both street frontages. In closing, the building mass here, fully compliant in height with the redevelopment plan. Similar to scale with the masonry building, as you can see further to the west, and visual impact along Communipaw. And then at the intersection, as you can see, the building is somewhat of a pioneer, that if it's the first of its kind at this location. So it does have, it does stand out, you know, slightly in scale. However, we do see this, or I envision this neighborhood, or in this redevelopment plan, actually catching up to the scale of this building. As far as shadows go, you know, the building being where it is, you're only going to be casting shadows on the vacant property, which is directly to the west. We have a series of garages directly across the street on Harrison Avenue, which is to the west and to the north. And again, directly across the street is the KFC. And again, 60-foot right-of-way, and the KFC is actually set back from the sidewalk. So we don't see any scale disturbance as far as a shadowing goes. So I think all in all, this is a very good application, and as a right application within a good area. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Vandermark. Just a couple things that I have here. I would put a condition on for the driveway entrance, exit. If we could have some kind of a warning signal and curved mirrors in there just to watch out for pedestrians.
Yes.
And the next one is my standard one for affordable units, that the units built exactly the same as the rest of the units in the building. There's no difference in fit and finish?
Of course.
Okay, thank you. Is this wood frame or is this metal frame inside?
This would wind up being 2 stories of
Concrete?
non-combustible concrete,
Okay.
and then it'll be stick above.
Okay, gotcha. All right, thank you. That's it for me. Anybody else?
Nope.
All right, thank you, Mr. Vandermark.
We do have a civil engineer here this evening. We've been skipping the civil engineer on some applications in the past, but if the board would like to hear from the engineer.
Anyone?
Do it.
I don't.
No, we're okay.
Okay.
Thank you, we appreciate it, though.
So there's just one more thing I want to add, which another condition. There's a neighbor, if you're looking at the building to the right, it's a house of worship. My clients met with them quite a few times. They're in communication. The legal descriptions that were recorded for these properties are, there was a mistake made somewhere along the line. No one knows where it is. So we have agreed to enter it into a property line agreement with the neighbor. Regardless of whose legal description is correct, the building development doesn't change. So we took the more conservative approach, but the gentleman did leave, so I wanted to put that on the record.
Okay.
And I apologize to the board, that location is right here. This little notch in the plan
Gotcha.
is where that occurs.
Okay. Matt, you're aware of that? Okay.
Yeah. And I spoke to the gentleman before he had left today.
Okay, excellent. Council, that's your presentation?
That
Anything?
concludes our testimony.
Okay. Is anybody here from public that wants to comment on this application? Anyone from public?
Chair, seeing no public, I move to close.
Second.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. Public is closed. Matt, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, so I just wanted to bring up that there are some memos from some of the review agents. There was some questions from the transportation team.
Sure.
And traffic team asking about protecting bollards for the bike parking area, as well as calling out 3 parking spaces that they had some concern about accessing. I don't know if you guys want to just address whether or not you're looking to maintain those spaces, or if you're looking to adjust how you're laying out some of the parking spaces.
Yeah, I think that we're certainly going to be able to satisfy those comments. There was the bike protection with bollards. There was the actual locking mechanism of the bikes that would be required, and we'll certainly change bike racking systems to be able to be lockable. And then they were talking about, you know, the tightness of, you know, space 1 and space 9, and then even, you know, potentially space 16 here. That, you know, we have a little bit of maneuverability to, potentially just change slightly some of the dimensions to go compact with either, these three parking spaces, or potentially even, compact in the compact adjacent to it will pick up an additional foot to buffer off of these walls. And certainly will be, compliant with the amount of compact that still can be provided in the project. So I think, with a dialogue between city engineering and us, we can get this done.
Okay. Yeah, so this project really started the zoning for this project started in 2015. You saw that there is one affordable unit here. This was kind of at the outset of when zoning started to incorporate affordable housing requirements. So it isn't at 10% of the unit count. The affordable housing requirement actually was applied to the additional stories over the zoning that existed prior to the change in 2015. This is a conforming project on all accounts. We included several staff recommended conditions. Has the applicant reviewed those and is able to comply with those?
Yeah, so we've reviewed all the review memos, the staff memo, and those are all acceptable, in addition to the driveway warning system condition, the affordable unit being the same finishes condition, and the boundary line agreement condition added as well.
All right, thank you very much. Staff recommends approval.
All right, thank you, Matt.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve case P 23-044 with the conditions outlined.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded for approval with conditions.
Okay, Vice Chair Dr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner Gangadin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Prinzari.
Aye.
Commissioner Torres.
Aye.
Commissioner Lipsky.
Like Mr. Van Mark said, I think it's a game changer. I mean, this is one of 3 east to west thoroughfares, and Communipore having this addition, I think would be great. I vote aye.
Commissioner Dr. Desai.
Aye.
Commissioner Green.
I will miss the shrimp empanada restaurant, but I will aye.
Chairman Langston.
Aye.
Motion carries, all in favor, and a motion approved with conditions.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
everybody. All right, let's move on to item 15. It's case P2023-0110 is a minor subdivision with C variances for 296 Seaview Avenue.
Good evening, Chairman.
Good
Eugene
evening,
O'Connell
Counsel.
for the applicant. We're waiting for one more witness, so we'd ask that you just skip us for now and come back.
Okay, we'll come back to you. All right, let's move on to item 17. It's case P22-234 is a minor subdivision for 13 to 15 Jewett Avenue.
Good evening, Chairman. For the record, Charles Harrington of Connell Foley on behalf of the applicant. We do have the public notices that were provided for the application. I'll provide those to council.
Chairman, I'm in receipt of the affidavit of publication proof of mailing with respect to the application at 13-15 Jewett Avenue here in the city. This matter had been previously scheduled, and it was carried with preservation of that notice. Although it does appear that the notice that Mr. Harrington has handed me is for tonight's hearing. So this notice is for this evening here at 5:30 in this very room. Does appear to be in order. We're going to mark it as A1 for purposes of the record.
Okay, thank you, counsel.
Okay, so, I mean, this is a very straightforward application. It started off kind of a little convoluted, where my client was proposing different things, but at the end of the day, we ended up with what's before you tonight, where we are proposing to subdivide this one lot into 2 conforming lots, 2,500 square feet each. There is an existing building that will be demolished. My client does have the demolition permit in hand. It is in the R1 zone. So there's nothing really different about it. It's just two conforming lots. There was a planner's report that was provided that, we would be in agreement with the conditions of approval. With that said, I have my surveyor here tonight. He can show you the plan and walk you through it. But in the alternative, we could submit on the subdivision plot that's already been provided to the board, because it's really that straightforward. It's two conforming lots, 25 by 100. So I'll defer to the board.
No, I mean, it doesn't get any more vanilla than that now, does it?
Yeah.
Mr. Harrington could make it take an hour.
He could. So, council, is there a curb cut?
There is an existing curb cut that's going to be filled in, and then the planner's report requires us to, I know that the new zoning encourages the sharing of curb cuts in the event of a new development, but we may have development that doesn't require any curb cuts whatsoever.
Okay, Genru, are you comfortable just saying the curb cut's being removed, or as a condition, do we want to condition that a shared curb cut would be used if there was a driveway proposed in the future?
I think in my staff report, I said the existing curb should be removed, sidewalk should be fixed for future development. But I guess if there's any future development that actually require the curb cut, I would say it would be better to condition a shared driveway for
Okay.
future development.
Okay, so council will will condition that any future curb cut that would be put in for those new developments would be a shared curb cut between those two plots.
Right, and that would be in the event both houses require a curb cut.
Yes, yeah, obviously. Okay, anybody, any questions?
No, sir.
It's pretty standard. All right, thank you, Mr. Harrington.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anybody here from the public that wants to comment on this subdivision
Mr. Chair,
application?
seeing no public, I move to close.
Second.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. Public is closed. Genru, anything else?
No, I just want to say that ask the applicants to agree to the condition that are raised tonight and also in my staff report. And with that, staff recommend approval.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve case P 22-234 as presented to the board tonight.
Second.
Okay, motion is made and seconded for approval with conditions.
Vice Chair Dr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner Gangden. Councilwoman Prinzeri. Commissioner Torres.
Aye.
Commissioner Lipsky.
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. Desai.
Aye.
Commissioner Green.
Aye.
And Chairman Lanston.
Aye.
Motion carries in favor.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's move on to item 18. Okay, case P2023-0020 is a minor site plan with variance for 540 Route 440.
Good evening, members of the board. Veronica Schmiel from Connell Foley on behalf of the applicant. For this application, we do have variances, so we did notice for this, for which I have the original. So we also have a signage application before you this evening. We're hoping to keep it brief. I only have two witnesses. We are proposing an on-site pylon sign to advertise for the existing car dealership. The two variances that are associated with this application are for the type and the size of the sign. Our first witness is going to be Ron Kenyonian, who will be our expert witness in signage. And then we'll have Sam Bellamy for our variances as well. All right, so I'll leave it to Ron.
Thank you, Counsel.
Chairman, just before we swear in the witness, I received the affidavit of publication proof of mailing. This matter was previously scheduled for August 20th and carried through to tonight with preservation of that notice. It appears to be in order. A1 for the record.
Okay, thank you, Counsel.
I do. Yes, Ronald Kinoyan, Ronald Kinoian. Forgive my voice and my runny nose.
It's fine. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I feel like we turned the corner tonight. If you could, just give us your background in signage and,
I have over 20 years' experience building, installing, and selling.
okay. I am comfortable qualifying you as an expert then tonight.
Thank you.
That seems like the benchmark tonight.
You write a letter
I
for
like
my
it.
wife,
We
let
moved
her
the
know.
goalposts tonight. I like
Anybody
it.
less than 20 can go home.
That's all we need. Okay, go ahead, sir.
At one point, and I don't know exactly when, there was a sign, a non-illuminated sign on 4 stanchions, roughly center of the parking lot there, towards the right side, I'm sorry, a little bit towards the right, facing the highway. The client at one point proposed a digital sign, and I don't know exactly what happened. Thomas, I think, was a part of that, and it just got turned down. So they asked for some kind of system, and what we proposed was a banner system. Something that has, it's very similar to what you see on billboards. It's a spring-loaded metal frame that goes around. You post the banner in, and then you put a molding around the edges. It's non-illuminated. It only illuminates from the existing, I guess you call it hood lights or LED parking lot lights that they have throughout the entire car parking lot. And that's essentially it. There's not a whole lot to it. It's a banner, designed to look like the billboard size.
Are those lights on 24 hours?
I can't answer
know?
that.
Counsel, do you know?
Do you know?
I do not know, unfortunately, but I can get that information to you. Back to my phone. I could quickly text.
I mean, the sign itself isn't illuminated. It's just more of a site-specific question.
I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe the car lot always stays illuminated
Yeah.
for security reasons. So when I was there most recently, it was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Nothing was on yet, but I'm pretty sure the nighttime photos I saw, the entire parking lot was lit up.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I mean, that's fine. The sign itself isn't illuminated other than those lights, so it's not like there's extra illumination. Yeah, I have no other questions. Anybody else? Okay, thank you, sir.
And this is my last application tonight, so for the
miss you.
record, I do recognize I'm still under oath as a licensed professional planner.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bellamy. Go ahead.
So we're asking for one deviation tonight for the signage type. We're proposing a pylon sign. The 4 pylons are actually existing in the parking lot, so they're remaining. The location of the sign is remaining. We're proposing a new banner sign to replace what was previously there and removed. The sign itself is 200 square feet, 10 feet high by 20 feet wide. For reference, the previous sign was about 264 square feet. So relative in size to what was there previously. The redevelopment plan, we're in the high-rise zone of the Route 440 redevelopment plan. It does not permit pylon signs, freestanding signs that are typical with box stores, automobile dealerships that are along Route 440. Really what the redevelopment plan envisions is for the redevelopment of sites and mixed-use buildings that are typical with new redevelopment projects. So permitted sign types include wall signs, blade signs, window signs, directory signs, and awning signs. Again, none of those are pylon signs, which is triggering the deviation request tonight. There are existing pylon signs and freestanding signs along the Route 440 corridor, including at this site for the existing automobile dealership. The redevelopment plan does contemplate both permitting the existing automobile dealerships as well as appropriate expansion of those uses to continue to allow for the operation of that business. Overall, the signage is compatible with the architectural style and color scheme of the dealership, and generally the commercial corridor along Route 440. So with that, I don't see any substantial detriment to the general welfare. I likewise don't see a substantial impairment to the zone plan or zoning ordinance. As I referenced, the redevelopment plan does specifically allow for the automobile dealerships that are existing to remain and expand where appropriate. This project does promote the purposes of the municipal land use law. Again, I think it's a continued appropriate use and development of the site consistent with Purpose A, and I believe the signage replacing what was previously there on the existing pylons will promote a desirable visual environment and appropriate branding for the automobile dealership. With that, I think the benefits here would outweigh the detriments, and that the project does meet both the positive and negative criteria.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bellamy. I have no questions. Anybody else?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Council, that's your presentation?
That is our presentation. We are also in receipt of the staff memo dated September 20th. We've all reviewed it, and we agree with the conditions there.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. Is there anybody here from public that wants to comment on this application?
Mr. Chair, seeing no public, I move to close.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. Public is closed. Cam, anything you want to add?
Well, planning staff thanks the applicant for agreeing to the staff memo's conditions. And planning staff agrees with the professional planner's testimony. This is a unique scenario, and the redevelopment plan doesn't exactly contemplate this very unique scenario where we have existing infrastructure that they're simply wishing to retrofit with new signage. So planning staff recommends approval with conditions, and we see no detriment to the zone plan, the master plan, or the redevelopment plan, or the Jersey City LDO. So that concludes staff's comments.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve case P 2023-0020 as presented to the board tonight.
Second.
Okay, motion is made and seconded for approval.
Vice Chair Dr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner Gungadin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Prince Airy.
Aye.
Commissioner Torres. Commissioner Lipsky.
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. Desai.
Aye.
Commissioner Green.
Aye.
And Chairman Langston.
Aye.
Motion carries all in favor with conditions.
Okay,
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to item 19 is case P2024-0007 is a preliminary and final major site plan with C variances for 22nd Street. Good evening, Council.
Good evening. Stephen Joseph, Castano Quilly Tromey for the applicant. I do have notices, which I'll hand up.
Yeah. Good man.
Chairman, I received the affidavit of publication with respect to the application.
I like this.
Have the opportunity to review the proof of publication. All appears to be in order. I'm going to mark it as A1 for purposes of...
Thank you, Council.
Okay. All right. 22nd Street. This is preliminary and final major site plan, but it's essentially a lobby renovation. This application was also previously approved, but those approvals have expired, so this is kind of a redo of that prior approval. We do have Dennis Davino here this evening to provide the architectural testimony, and we do have a planner for the two what we feel are minor variances. So let's get Dennis sworn in.
You swear in the testimony you give tonight's going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Dennis, D-E-N-N-I-S, Davino, D-E-V-I-N-O.
Mr. Davino, good evening. We've all obviously qualified you before. Your license is current tonight?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank
You're
you.
qualified.
Dennis, how are we presenting this evening?
Hopefully this thing will work.
Yeah, let's get that plugged in. I didn't factor this into the time.
This one, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yep, just like that. Yeah, let me help you out here. There you go. That works.
Not that old. Okay. Let this thing get up and running. Have a little PowerPoint presentation, which is essentially the 12 sheets that were submitted to the board.
Remember, Dennis, everything's on the public screen.
Just a quick little summary. As Mr. Joseph indicated, this was approved March of, the board approved almost an identical application in March of 2019. This is essentially an addition, a lobby addition to 22nd Street. Go. Okay. Coming up. As I mentioned, this is a total of 20 slides. The first slide is a rendering.
So we'll enter this as A2, but it's comprises of everything that was previously submitted.
Yeah. So I think it's probably
12 slides. How many slides, Dennis?
12.
A2.
12.
12 slides. 12?
Talk about the ones you need to talk about.
Yes, 12 slides. So once again, I think it's probably, I know this is a new application, but it's probably worthy for me to simply let the board know that this is almost identical to what was approved before, just for reference. The only major changes that were made on the exterior of the building really were the client wanted a revolving door, and so we changed the front elevation to include a revolving door and two flanking 8-foot doors. But essentially everything else is pretty much the same as what was approved in 2019. So I think we all know Mandalay and Hudson is adjacent to the Riverwalk. There is a Riverwalk access, which is maintained at all times, unlocked. Also on 2nd Street, there are two other access to the Riverwalk. One directly to the east of the Mandalay and one at the end of the actual of 2nd Street. So there's ample locations to access the Riverwalk. Slide 2 is the zoning chart. Charles Height will explain a little bit more of the variance requests that we're seeking here. But it was the front yard requirement for this building because of the height is 74 feet, 74 and a half feet. The existing setback, 72.9 feet. And what we're proposing, which will include a slight 6-foot protrusion or overhang off the lobby, would be 57.8 feet. I also think it's important to note that we're not extending, the existing curb cut at the entranceway is not getting extended at all. The aisleway, the vehicular aisleway that's in front of the Mandalay is staying exactly where it is. What we're doing here is removing an existing canopy of 314 square foot existing 15 and a half foot concrete canopy with 2 concrete pillars that really serves no purpose other than people staying out of the weather. It doesn't add any square footage to the lobby. I mean, this building was completed in 2000. In years 2000, our lobbies have changed substantially in 24 years. Needless to say, the amount of storage, package storage, has increased substantially. So the lobby was in dire need for renovation and for addition. So we took up that 314 square feet and we added another 259 square feet, getting a total lobby extension of 573 square feet. And include that into the existing lobby. If you include the new package, the new cart room, we got a new lobby of,
Why don't we switch over to the floor plan, Dennis?
Sorry?
Why don't we switch over to the floor plan so they could just
All
get
right.
a sense of that?
We're essentially enclosing that, making it part of the lobby, council.
Correct. That's a good way of putting it.
okay. All right, we go to the floor plan. So I'll do this and then I'll back up. I didn't mean to go too quickly. So you can see the plan of the lobby. What we're adding on is this section right here. And this area here is the existing lobby, but the total lobby square footage now is 1,533 square feet.
And Dennis, the existing canopy goes to where? If you could just
Well, let me
identify.
back up. Now let's go to. So this is a demo plan of the existing canopy. You can see the dotted lines. The two trees that are getting relocated, and you can see all these dotted lines and the concrete pillars. So let's go. I don't want to keep jumping around because
We're extending past the existing canopy?
we are extending 4.5 feet past the existing canopy.
All
Yeah.
right.
Chairman, how much more you need?
So Dennis, why
So
don't we?
there we go. So
yeah.
that's the existing canopy right now.
And we'll bring up Charles to do planning testimony.
Yeah, okay. So that the canopy right now is 15.5 feet. The new canopy, the new addition will be 14.5 feet. So it'll actually be a foot lower than what's presented. And I think, again, Charles will testify, but remember, this is only one story. This isn't a request to build 26 stories with this. This is a one-story lobby.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Davino?
Sorry?
Oh, no, I was just asking for questions.
I have one more slide and then
Oh,
we
okay.
can go.
I thought you were wrapping up.
Oh. So, yes. And I think it's probably worth noting that we're losing 6 parking spots, although we still meet the parking requirements for the building. But what we're adding, the advantages of what we're getting here is we're adding an additional, again, because there's so many package deliveries, clients saw it necessary to get an additional location for delivery trucks. So we took 6 spots away from here, and we added a larger delivery zone. So.
Thank you, Dennis.
Mhm.
All right, let's get.
One question on that.
Yeah, go
So
ahead.
if the delivery zone is, in my screen, I guess it's to the right, where would the packages be unloaded to?
So, let's get back to this floor plan.
To the main?
The other item we added is this 2.5 or 3 foot extension is strictly required for package delivery. The package will come into this individual entryway, which is directly off of the package delivery parking spot. So deliveries will be parked here, and all the packages will come into a separate entrance and not through the main lobby.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Excellent, thank you. All right, any other questions for Mr. Davino? Anyone?
No.
Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right, let's get Charles sworn in.
I do.
For the record, can you spell your name?
Yes, Charles Height, last name spelled H-E-Y-D-T.
Mr. Height, good evening. Your license is current?
Still current, yes.
Okay, thank you. You're qualified.
Okay. I'll jump right into it. We're in the Harsmith Cove redevelopment plan area, the East Waterfront District. The primary deviation that we need is with respect to front yard setback. In that redevelopment plan, building height is regulated by a required front yard setback. This board actually heard a similar application, albeit for a fully new building, a few weeks back. But essentially, this requirement requires you to meet a certain setback on 3 sides of the tower. Because we're expanding the ground floor portion, we technically are encroaching into this front yard setback, but it's only at the ground floor. So in terms of the technical deviation, the building's 220 feet tall, 222 feet tall, which requires a setback of 74.5 feet on 3 sides. As Mr. Davino mentioned, the proposed will be 57.8 on this southern front yard setback to 2nd Street. So that's the encroachment of enclosing in the expanded lobby area. There also is a canopy encroachment because it expands beyond the 6 feet in certain sections from the front facade. All part of the same proposed improvements, upgrades to the main entrance of the building. Obviously, the new floor plan interior of the building's an improvement. As Mr. Davino just mentioned, there are changes to some of the areas with the drop-off and circulation in front. There's no deviation in terms of overall parking, even with the reduction of 6 parking spaces. There's the associated parking deck that's on the subject property. And the improvements will actually aid in the accessibility and overall entrance to the residential building. With respect to any special reasons, I would say that the primary vision of this improvement is to promote a desirable visual environment. That's purpose I. So by way of improving the front entrance, that's still consistent with the overall theme of the building, meets that purpose. In terms of the negative criteria, I don't believe there's any substantial detriment to the public good. We really made these improvements to address the public good, address the functionality of the ground floor, and bring it up to date to modern needs of the residents there today. The circulation, as Mr. Davino had mentioned, still remains the same. There's no change in curb lines into the drive aisles. They'll still remain intact. With respect to any impairment to the zone plan or zoning ordinance, again, if we were proposing expansions on any of the upper floors, we would be creating any potential massing impacts. Because this is on the southern portion of the existing building, all of the massing impacts from the 1-story addition are onto the building itself. There's no spillover impacts to any light or air with the proposed improvements. So I do still think it meets the intent. The existing tower will remain, and this is an upgrade at ground level. We further purposes of goals of the Jersey City Master Plan as well, so continue to enhance residential neighborhoods and ensure the city's available housing is balanced and meets the needs of all current and future residents. So those are some of the goals that we further the master plan. My direct testimony is complete.
All right, thank you, Mr. Height.
Thank you.
Any questions, anyone?
No.
Okay,
My pleasure.
thank you.
For the record, Mr. Bellamy did not want to share any of his applications and is going on his honeymoon for 2 weeks, so he was hard at work.
Good for him. Good for him. Where's he going? Anywhere good? It's all right there.
That's a Marty.
It's all right.
I think I'm already over time, so that does conclude our direct testimony
All right, you're
here.
good. No, you're good.
We have reviewed the staff memo, and all conditions are acceptable to the
Okay, thank you, council. Is there anybody here from public that wants to comment on this application?
Mr. Chair, I see no public. I move to close.
Second.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. Public is closed. Sophia, this is yours.
Yes. Planning staff doesn't see any detriment to the public good in granting these variances. And as mentioned before, the Riverwalk access will be maintained and unlocked, and that is a specific condition in the staff memo as well. The applicant has already agreed to the conditions, so planning staff recommends approval.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve case P 2024-0007 as presented to our board tonight.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded for approval.
Vice Chair Dr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner Gangadin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Prince Arie.
Aye.
Commissioner Torres. Commissioner Lipsky.
Since 1997, Amazon has increased deliveries by 18,000%. Very needed. Aye.
Commissioner Dr. Desai?
Aye.
Commissioner Green?
Aye.
And Chairman Langston?
Aye.
All in favor, motion carries.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody. All right, let's go back to item 15. Is case P2023-0110 is a minor subdivision with C variances for 296 Seaview Avenue.
Thank you, Chairman.
Good evening,
Once
counsel.
again, Eugene O'Connell, appearing for the applicant, Flor Santos. This is a notice case, so I have my notices.
Gracias.
Thank you, Sal.
De nada.
Mira. Coño.
Receive the affidavit of publication, proof of mailing with respect to the application at 296 Seaview here in the city. This matter had been previously scheduled back in August of this year, maybe even July. And I had reviewed it at that time, August 6th. Does appear to be the original of the virtual one that I had reviewed. All does appear to be in order, and mark it as A1 for the record.
Thank you, counsel.
Thank you, Chairman. So this is a fairly straightforward application as far as the minor subdivision is concerned. It's a corner lot on the corner of Seaview Avenue and Romar Avenue, and we are proposing to create 3 lots measuring 25 feet by 113.01 feet, which is a legal size lot for construction in Jersey City. But the issue that came up as to the shared driveway. And I just want to put a couple things on the record before I call my first witness. So the property's on the corner of Seaview Avenue and north side of Seaview and the east side of Romar. On the Seaview Avenue side, there is an existing driveway and a fire hydrant, and it is also a bus stop. On the Romare Avenue side, there is a 69-foot curb cut for an old, I guess, garage or whatever was there. So actually, on the Seaview Avenue side, even putting in the second driveway there, we're not removing any on-street parking because there's no on-street parking allowed by that fire hydrant or in the bus stop. And on the Romar Avenue side, where we're putting in one driveway, that driveway will be 10 feet, and that will leave 59 feet of curb for on-street parking. Now, why are we doing this? It's because of the prevailing setback of the homes that will exist on Seaview Avenue, and Jeffrey Lewis will testify as to why this has to be done.
Do you swear any testimony you give tonight is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
And for the record, can you state and spell your name?
Jeffrey Lewis, Jeffrey Lewis.
Mr. Lewis, good evening. Your license is current?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. You're qualified.
Thank you. Okay, so Gene walked through most of what we're doing for the subdivision. So I just wanted to start with what we're doing for the property, the buildings themselves, and how that's going to affect everything. So we are subdividing to 3 properties, 1 on the corner and 2 internal 25-foot wide lots. The corner lot has a 0-foot front setback line along Romar Avenue, and then all 3 properties have a 10-foot front yard setback along Seaview Avenue to match the existing 2-story building to our right. The buildings have 2 feet side yards at the where we have a setback of 3 feet or more next to us. So the property to the right has a 3-foot setback, so we're doing a 2-foot to make that 5 feet. Same with next to the corner property where we have a larger setback and a 2-foot setback. And then in between the buildings, we have 3 feet setbacks to provide for light and air for our windows. As was mentioned, we are not asking for any variances for this. However, the driveways are a little complicated. The driveway for the corner property is on Romar Avenue, where there is that long curb cut that's going to be removed and replaced with a 10-foot curb cut. The other 2 driveways are the ones we're discussing, or 1 driveway, depending. So we're showing 2 driveways here. However, the ordinance requires that we provide a shared single driveway. However, we are having some trouble making that work. And actually, this was me doing some setup for Lee Klein, our traffic engineer. He has a couple of sketches showing one driveway and two driveways with some traffic information. So if I could turn it over to him, and then we can answer questions at the end.
All right, and just to clarify, so we're saying that the 10-foot setback to prevailing setback on Seaview Avenue is causing the issue of making the turning radius into the driveway. So Lee Klein will be my next expert.
Okay, thank you.
Swear any testimony you give tonight is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
State your name.
Lee, middle initial D as in Daniel, Klein, Klein.
Mr. Klein, good evening, always a pleasure. Your license is current tonight?
Current and in good standing, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, you're qualified.
Thank you. I prepared these two exhibits on the behest of our client to show what's required is one driveway, one curb cut to be split to get into the garages. But as you can see, the layout of the driveway and the layout of the curb cut and the turning maneuvers of a car to be able to make that turn to get in, it's not feasible for that to be done. I just want to point out, and I think it was said already, that there's a stop sign at the corner, so no parking 50 feet from the stop sign. There's the hydrant, no parking 10 feet either side of the hydrant. There were already driveway curb cuts a little further to the, I guess that's east, yeah. And so if you go to the next slide, so this is what it looks like with two. And I guess the point here is that we're not going to gain an extra parking space on the street if we do one driveway, and the one driveway just is not going to be maneuverable for people to get in and out of the two separate garages. So it would be my recommendation to allow us to have two 10-foot curb cuts. It won't affect parking because there is no parking within 50 feet of the stop sign anyway, and the hydrant and the bus stop.
Mr. Klein, where is that 50? Oh, I'm sorry. There's a number right on
Yeah,
the
on
bottom. Thank you.
Yeah, by the word C, yeah, that's the 50. So it takes you to the center.
Okay, so if, let's say we could get those driveways, the actual parking into the structure about 6 foot closer together. Do you think we could make one curb cut happen?
I'll have to leave that to the architect. I don't know what the spacing is between the buildings, right? There's.
So, I mean, are you really asking how wide would the curb cut need to be to make it work?
Oh, for a
No.
single?
Yeah,
Squeeze the two-
if we squeeze both of them together, if we got those.
Oh, like almost
Oh, do you know what that
two,
distance is?
one 20-foot wide, or an 18.
No, the same size driveway. If we move those buildings together.
Oh, to be able to make the angle better?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I that's probably part of the reason that I'm here. The reason that the buildings do need to be 3 feet apart on that side is really more of a architectural layout issue, where we have the entry to the right and the garage to the left because we need the garage to be to the left. And typically, if the entry's to the left, if the entry's to the right, then the stairs are on the right, which means the bedrooms end up on the left, which means we need the 3 foot setback on the
Gotcha.
left for the windows.
Okay, gotcha. I tried. Okay. Any questions, Mr. Klein? Anyone?
So right now, there's one parking space there? On that block, or there's nobody?
No, there's no parking there now. That's what I'm saying. This doesn't affect parking by putting the two separate
And-
driveways.
Yeah, I do circles around there when my niece does the barbecue, so I know the block. So where is 69 feet curb cut on Romaine? Are they gonna gain spots on that street with the 50 feet?
Can you park?
Is there a stop sign on that corner?
Yeah, you can park on that side. I was there today.
Can I bring up the survey? I'll show you.
Yeah, pick it up.
Okay, so this is the existing survey, and here's that dropped curb all the way down to here. So we're only going to have a 10-foot curb cut here, so all this space will now be available for parking.
Okay, hold on, I lost it. Okay.
So there's an extra at least 30 to 40 feet of parking available.
And considering there's no stop sign on that corner, so they'll be able to park.
This is going
correct
this way.
Correct.
It's a one-way
It's a
going
two-way
this
both.
way.
Correct.
So the stop sign's way up at the next corner.
So you're gonna gain
It's just a hydrant
almost
further up.
2 parking spaces at least.
I think you could
Probably
squeeze two in
two,
there
yeah.
for sure.
You'll get about 2 spaces, considering right now we have none on that whole corner.
Because of the drop curb, yeah, because of the driveway, yes.
And that's definitely gonna be 2 parking spaces allowed there, right?
There's going to be an increase on this side for sure.
Okay. That's all I got. That's the I wanted to clear up.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Any questions?
No.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Anything else?
That's my case.
Okay. All right, is there anybody here from the public that wants to comment on this application?
Mr. Chair, I see no public. I move to close.
Second.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. Public is closed. Jen, anything?
Yeah, staff agreed to the applicant's professional's testimony. I will just ask the applicants to agree to the conditions in the staff report.
Yes, of course, we agree to all of them.
Okay, with that, staff room can approval.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve case P 2023-0110 as presented to the board tonight.
Second.
Okay, motion is made and seconded for approval.
Vice Chair Dalton Garlelos,
Aye.
Commissioner Gangadin, Councilwoman Prinzeri, Commissioner Torres.
Yeah, I just appreciate the fact that, that I know it's a tough corner. The neighborhood should be happy that they're gonna get 2 parking spots in that area. So with that, I'm gonna vote an aye.
Commissioner Lipsky,
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. Desai,
Aye.
Commissioner Green,
Aye.
and Chairman Langston.
Aye.
Motion carries all in favor.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to memorialization of resolutions.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to memorialize the following resolutions. I have 4? 7. Resolution number 1, a resolution of the City of Jersey City Planning Board, case number P 2024-0052. Applicant is Arvinder Minhas Singh at 192 Cambridge Avenue, Jersey City, New Jersey, Block 2203, Lot 2.01. Application for minor site plan approval with C variances for maximum front yard lot coverage. Number 2, resolution of the Planning Board of the City of Jersey City. Applicant is General Square Balian Properties LLC for preliminary and final major site plan approval, 76-82 Liberty Avenue, Jersey City, New Jersey, Block 6304, Lot 29, 30, 31, and 32. Case number P 2023-0071. Resolution number 3 is the Planning Board of the City of Jersey City. It's FDAD Maple LLC for Administrative Amendment 99 Monitor Street, Jersey City, New Jersey, Block 19003, Lot 1.01, formerly known as Lots 1 through 7, case number P 2024-0121. Number 4 is the resolution of the Planning Board of the City of Jersey City for proposed fees for zoning review, as well as fees for zoning and planning board applications. Number 5, resolution of the Planning Board of the City of Jersey City for minor site plan approval with C variance, Chuko Nonso Ogbona, owner 14 Cole Street, Block 12702, Lot 8, case number P 2024-0056. Resolution number 6 of the City of Jersey City, Planning Board of the City of Jersey City, applicant 369-371 Witten Street, LLC for extension of final major site plan approval with deviations at 369-371 Witten Street, Jersey City, New Jersey, Block 19001, Lot 8, case number P 2024-0131, and the 7th resolution and final resolution of the Planning Board of the City of Jersey City, applicant 975 Garfield LLC for extension of final major site plan approval with deviations at 975 Garfield Ave, Jersey City, New Jersey, Block 19702, Lot 14, case number P 2024-0143.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call, please?
Vice Chair Dr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner Gangadin. Councilwoman Prinzeri. Commissioner Torres. Commissioner Lipsky.
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. Desai. Commissioner Green.
Aye.
And Chairman Langston.
Aye.
Motion carries all in favor to memorialize resolutions.
Thank you. Do we need executive session? Anyone?
Negativo.
All right. Motion for adjournment from somebody?
Motion.
Thank you, guys. We are adjourned.